welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Good, and I'm joined as ever by Mr. Matt Turner. He's back, ladies and gentlemen, from his jaunt down south to Von Erich country. He is back. Mr. Turner, how was your trip?
Trip was fun. It was only 3 days, so the Monday we left and the Wednesday we came back were really long days, just because it's about an hour and a half drive to the Philadelphia airport, 3-hour flight from Philly to Dallas, and then just back and forth. So yeah, I got home around 10 o'clock last night, and I slept really, really good, really good. Refreshed. It was a fun time. I was able to kind of just tell you some of the shenanigans that your good buddy Matt Turner was
Yes,
up
you
to. Did. 9 a.m. drunk at the airport, putting people in double wrist locks and chokeholds. That was fun. That was fun. And it was all, folks, they did not get into a bar fight at all. It was just we went for a 7 a.m. beer, as you would, because you're waiting. We had an 8:30 flight, so the bar was maybe 25 yards away from where our gate was. So me and a few of my coworkers were like, hey, look, where else can you go for a 7 a.m. beer and not get looked at like you're nuts? So let's go for a 7 a.m. beer. We went, and then as soon as we got done, we found out our flight was delayed a half an hour. So what do you do at that point, Rob? Make the best of a bad situation.
Keeps going, don't it?
Go for beer number two. Beer number two was done, and our flight was delayed another half an hour. At that point, our boss happened to show up, and then everybody else, all these other coworkers started walking by. So people, as beer number three was halfway down the hatch there, that people started asking me all questions about wrestling. And then some people started asking me about shoot wrestling. So double wrist locks were applied on, certain submissions, how to transition to certain things in the bar. So that was a fun time. And our special guest performer at this year's national convention, unfortunately, it was not Slayer. It was not Pantera. It was not Meltear. No, it was Outcast. It was Outcast. The last year's it was Wu-Tang Clan, and this year's was Outcast. So I enjoy hip hop a-okay. I'm obviously, as you know, and most of our listeners know, a metal guy. I'm more into the Metallica, the Slayer, the hard rock. But
of course,
yeah. So I was only there for a little bit, just because he came on a little bit later. I think we were at the venue that they shut down for everybody, for all the employees. We were probably there about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before he came on. I only heard 1 or 2 songs, and I was like, it's like, if I want to get to the gym, I got to get up at 4:15. And let me tell you this, the gym at the hotel was the best hotel gym I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. Wow. Everything you wanted, it was all right there. So plus I had a few, by few I mean 6 pineapple and vodkas that night. So I knew darn well that I would have to sweat the booze out of my system. However, I had pineapple, so there's your vitamins, so.
Absolutely. It's 1 of your 5 a day, mate. And if you had 6 of them,
there you go.
Living
However,
healthy.
I did chase that down with about a half a gallon of water. So I'm in my young 40s, so I'm getting a little smart when it comes to these things. But no, we had a good time, and it was kind of funny. Well, not funny. It was what I did is on the 3-hour flight, I downloaded a whole bunch of Stardom matches to YouTube. So I did watch a whole bunch of Mayu IWGP Championship matches. And then on the way home, Rob, I want to answer myself the question, because we're doing, obviously, a Merry Sherry Christmas next month for the month of December.
Yes, we are.
I've been asking myself this question, and I'm sure our fan base has been asking ourselves this question. What's the best Sherry versus Utami match from 2021? Is it the one they had in the summer, that from the Cinderella finals, or is it the one from Dream Queendom? So, Rob, I was going to tackle this one hard. I watched those 2 matches back to back. And the answer is, I still don't know. I still don't know what the better match is. So after I watched those 2 matches, I was like, I'm going to watch Mayu versus Sari from Dream Queendom. I haven't seen it, maybe about a month or so. I'm going to watch that, and I'm in it in about 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, the pilot comes on saying, we're about to hit some major turbulence. We should be out of it in about 15 minutes. So I pressed the thing. I said, all right, we're 5 minutes in this match. By the time we get 25 minutes, we should be good. And about 10 minutes goes by, no turbulence. I'm like, maybe they were just a precautionary. And every time I've flown maybe about a dozen or so times, partner, I've never felt turbulence like this before. I was shaking. Thank God my good buddy of mine was at the seat in front of me because I put my hand up and rocked the thing. The poor lady to the left of me, I almost elbowed. So I felt terrible about that. But I was like, oh my God. And I was like a little more than halfway through the Shiri and Mayu match. And I was like, this plane's going to go down. This is the last match I watch. Boy, howdy, it's a damn great match. Because boy, howdy, that was a damn great match. And I'm sure we're going to talk about another great Mayu IWGP Championship match on this podcast. But before we get there, brother, how was everything with you? How's your week thus far?
Nowhere near as eventful as yours. We are. I mean, I wasn't, tiger bombing people through tables or anything at 9 o'clock in the morning in front of people. If I put people in double wrist locks at work, it's a felony. So there you go. A little bit of a difference between me and you. But yeah, we are currently having a fireplace built. So it is very, very chilly. It's -7 here in the UK. We've had our first snowfall, which is lovely. So yeah, bit chilly, bit on the cold side. Kirsty is currently in 6 layers, I want to say, under 2 duvets with a cat on her, watching perhaps the worst Christmas film I've ever seen, which is currently airing on Netflix. So if you want a Rob Goodwin recommendation for Christmas, don't watch Hot Frosty. Ooh. There you go. You have been warned. No, that's
Hold on. Here's the positive spin on it. That sounds like a very tasty Pop-Tart, does it not?
It does sound like it. Honestly, if this film had more Pop-Tarts, I wouldn't hate it as much. Basically, the premise is, so everyone knows Jack Frost, right? Comes to life. It's the spirit of the kid's dad. It's heartwarming. It's also absolutely brutal, horrible film. Not because of, it's not like Saw brutal, but it's still, like pulls on the heartstrings. This is so a woman has lost her husband, which obviously is, horrible. But she then, she accidentally brings a hot snowman to life.
What do you mean by hot? Like good looking hot? Or like, do you mean like Sonata hot? Oh, okay. Or like, except it makes
smoldering. Smoldering. He's but this like, it's not imbued with the spirit of a human. No. It is a full-on snowman. So it's got no memory of how to use things. So we've got little lols because he doesn't know how to use a telly, or, oh, he's by the heater, he's gonna melt. And yeah, it's just a very poorly written, very cheesy Christmas film. And yeah, I actively encourage everyone that listens to this podcast, avoid it at all costs. Netflix, Hot Frosty I'm giving this far more advertising than it needs or deserves. Do not watch it.
Speaking of Christmas, real quick, buddy, because we're 8 minutes and we will get to some Stardom cast. You know how much of a fan I am for Christmas. This massive hotel was all done up for Christmas.
Oh,
absolutely
that's nice.
Loved it. Yeah, it was so nice. As I was walking back from the gym and the sun was just coming up in this massive area I have to walk past to go to the gym, back to my hotel room. We have all these Christmas trees and everything lighting up. And the main theme was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from the claymation movie from like 50 years ago, which is still one of my favorite Christmas themes. So it was nice. It was like the whole thing was really nice, and then everything was just done up for Christmas. But you know what else is nice? Me and you talking about some gosh dang Stardom, Rob Goodman, because this wrestling company, I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to make it.
I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to sit sort of, just in the middle. I think they're going to be solid. I think they're going to be okay. I must admit, it is good to actually speak to someone, because when we did the Frankenstein episode yesterday for the Marigold Standard, good grief, I don't like talking to myself. So it's nice to have a friendly American voice on the other end of the line. Before we get into that then, so today's episode, we've got a couple of bits of news to go through. Obviously, huge things coming out of Wrestle Kingdom week, as we are very, very close now to Wrestle Kingdom week. 40 odd days, I believe, till Wrestle Kingdom week, and that will come around very, very quickly. We've also got some news about Hanako in Sendai Girls, Koguma in Pro Wrestling Wave. And we've got, of course, New Blood West 2 and historic crossover to Electric Boogaloo to go through as well. Lots of things to talk about. But before we do any of that, Matt, before we delve one little toe into the ocean of Stardom that we are going to be talking about today, what, pray tell, is coming up on the Patreon this week?
Our Patreon for our alternate commentary this week, we released the match from Cork and Hall from back 2019 as Momo Watanabe and Utami Hayashisa defend the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championships against Mayu Otani and one Arisa Hoshinki. Next week, our alternate commentary is we don't know. It's Rob's pick. He doesn't know, so it's going to be a surprise for me. And why not? Because we are a month away from Christmas, and I like surprises, folks. I like surprises.
Absolutely.
So I might not know until I jump on the Discord to record that episode. However, we have a lot of fantastic stuff coming up this week on the Patreon, as we do have Tag Team Breakdown with myself and Andy Header as we break down the Artists of Stardom Tag Team Championship match from All-Star Grand Queendom last year, as Prominence takes on the team of Kairi, Natsupoi, and Soriano, also known as Restart. Myself and Andy Header also have What Show is Better. We also have probably come up in the next week or so, Matches with Matt, which I might record tomorrow or maybe this weekend. That I don't know, but Matches with Matt is an instant classic from the first night of the Cinderella tournament, as Sari teams with Shihira Hashimoto to take on Saripoi, Soriano, and Natsupoi. Heck yeah, my friend. Heck yeah. And then as it's scheduled, I'm supposed to record this Monday with Post Wrestling's own one Karen Peterson. And yes, the same Karen Peterson that forwarded the book, Chasing the Dream, Rob Goodwin's second book, the top 50 matches in Stardom history. And there it is right there, folks, because it is on the video, so I can give a cheap plug because I'm a shill. I'm a shill for from one, Rob Goodwin. So I'm supposed to record with Karen Peterson early next week. We're going to be talking about our top 5 favorite matches from one Kairi. So a lot of great stuff already on there. A lot of great stuff coming up pretty much every day this week going into Monday. And then a couple other things I have to record. And then we go into our month of Shuri, a Merry Shuri Christmas, where it's going to be a lot of Shuri themed. All of our alternate commentary will be Shuri matches. Myself and Andy Header will be doing a rivalry review of Mayu Otani versus Shuri. So we're ending November with a bang. Bless you. And we're ending November with a bang, and then we're starting it with the biggest bang possible, the hardest hitter in Stardom history in one Shuri. So a lot of great stuff coming up on the Patreon. And I noticed the Patreon members keep climbing, my man. So we must be doing something right.
Absolutely. And thank you again to every single person that has subscribed or has subscribed in the past to our Patreon. We could not do this without your support, and we continue to be incredibly grateful for it as well. Patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Absolutely hundreds of hours of bonus content up there for you if you can't get enough of hearing mine, and in particular Matt's dulcet, sexy tones on the Stardomcast. So, and just before, I will say that in terms of the alternate commentary, AMA versus Queen's Quest, I will say it's possibly unintentionally the most unserious alternate commentary we've ever done. The feed kept buffering because my computer was like, no, you've already recorded one today. 2 is too many, because apparently my computer is from the 60s. So yeah, between that and my comparisons of Mayu Iwatani and King Kong Bundy, I just it devolved very, very quickly. So I apologize for that. Hopefully, we'll be back to your regular scheduled programming when I actually come up with a match to do on Monday, which I'm sure they'll find something, because there is quite a bank of matches to watch. Moving on, then, let's talk about some Stardom news. And this first bit that we're going to talk about is obviously a huge thing coming out of Historic Crossover 2. So obviously, if you are listening to this podcast, you know that you're going to get spoiled on the Historic Crossover 2 results. So if you haven't watched that show yet, please pause this podcast, go and watch the show, because the show is really good, and then come back and listen to this review, because it will have spoilers in it. This first bit is a spoiler. Of course, we now have our IWGP Women's Championship match for Wrestle Kingdom week. We did think that it was going to take place on the 29th of December in Sumo Hall. So Mayu Iwatani defeated Momo Watanabe in what was, it was an all right match. It was a serviceable match. And basically called out Azumi. Azumi has shot her shot, if you like, finally, because she seems to have been in this IWGP Women's picture for the longest time. and Toni Storm jumped in front of her, and Momo Watanabe jumped in front of her. And you just got the impression from this that she was like, no one else is jumping in front of me. So Azumi came out, confronted Mayu, and they said, we want this at Wrestle Kingdom. We want this Tokyo Dome, January 4th. Let's go, basically. And it was announced the next day. It has been confirmed. January 4th, Wrestle Kingdom 19 in the Tokyo Dome. Mayu Iwatani versus Azumi. Matt, obviously a huge match for Mayu's 9th defense of this championship. She will be 600 plus days into her reign at this point, if she obviously holds on to it until Wrestle Kingdom. So she will have held the belt. Just a couple of stats. She will have held the women's championship, the IWGP Women's Championship, by January 4th for 622 days, making it the second longest reign of any championship in Stardom history, which is a mad statistic. Now, Matt Turner, you know what I'm going to ask you. Okay? For 1 point, what is the longest reign
Ryusuke
of any belt? Nope.
Oh, wasn't Ryusuke Aikawa with the white belt?
Yuzuki Aikawa with the white belt, I believe, was 618 days.
See, I was so confident. It was like when they go to ask the question.
You did. You said that
they cut him off.
Much confidence.
I was like,
the
boom.
pen down and everything.
Was it Toni Storm with the SWA?
Nope. I'll give you one more guess.
Was it 9A with the red belt?
602 days.
Oh, what was it?
Natsuki Teo with the High Speed Championship.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have got that one.
Would you like to have a guess at how many days that reign was?
I will not take a guess. However, if you want to find the answer to that, if you pick up the book Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary interview by my good friend Rob Goodwin, all the championship history for the first 10 years is in there. I can look up the answer, but I would rather have your beautiful voice tell me and our lovely listeners and viewers how many days that is.
674 days. Now, obviously, that's a gargantuan reign, but it is worth noting that there is considerably less championship defenses in that. Mayu, of course, will have defended this championship against, when we get to Azumi, 9 times in 622 days, which is quite the stat. But, that aside, Matt, this match legitimately could steal Wrestle Kingdom, the entire Wrestle Kingdom week, but certainly the Wrestle Kingdom show itself. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Mayu Iwatani fan. I'm not saying that because I'm a huge Stardom fan. I'm not saying that because I'm a huge Azumi fan. But we've seen what these two can do together. We have seen the chemistry that they have. We've seen what they are capable of doing. We've seen, we saw Mayu Iwatani give an absolutely stellar performance against Momo Watanabe. We've seen Azumi, who is massively over with Japanese and international crowds. We've seen what she can do, mixing that speed with that brutish kicking style and targeting the arms. We saw it in the 5-star Grand Prix, a little snifter of what they can do. If they can emulate that, if they are given they are given 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, we know what they are going to be able to do. Now, obviously, there is one drawback of this being on Wrestle Kingdom, and I'm sure Matt is thinking about that. Obviously, this belt has already been defended at Wrestle Kingdom. It got defended at Wrestle Kingdom when Kairi defeated Tam. They were given, I believe, 9 minutes. And it was a good match, don't get me wrong, but it was 5 minutes?
It was a little over 5. There's another King Kong Bendy reference. It was a little under 5 minutes. The Mercedes Moné entrance and the thing was longer than the match. Yeah, that was what I was going to say. It was effectively a precursor for Mercedes Moné making her entrance, which is great. Obviously, you're saying that Mercedes Moné versus Kairi, but yeah, it felt very much like it was an afterthought. And obviously, we know that New Japan have sort of mixed feelings about the IWGP Women's Championship as a whole. However, I do feel like Mayu especially deserves a decent run of time during this match, because Mayu and Azumi, again,
I've said it before, I will say it again, have the opportunity to steal this Wrestle Kingdom show.
Yeah, and to all my fellow Azumi fans that have been a little bit upset, the fact that Azumi had that number one contender shot when she defeated Mayu back in the summer, back in the 5-star Grand Prix. And as you mentioned before, partner, everybody just kept jumping in front of the line, jumping in front of the line. I just kept saying, relax. It's probably going to happen on a bigger stage, which we thought was going to be Dream Queendom. Even bigger. Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom. So now we get to see probably the two most talented wrestlers in all of wrestling with throw Will Ospreay in that mix in Mayu versus Azumi. Yeah, the first negative thing that everybody came to me at was, what if they do with Mayu and Azumi that they did with Kairi and Tam? One, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But worst case scenario, if it does happen and they're given 5-6 minutes, what two better wrestlers?
Yeah, exactly.
5-6 minutes than Azumi and Mayu. And I think I had texted you because I think I watched the Momo Mayu match live, and I think you watched it a day or two after it happened. And I think I texted you. I said that promo that Mayu cut, especially and biggest thanks in the world and great job to Chris Charlton doing the translation, because usually we have to wait to somebody like, what did she say? What did we say? But you can tell, like with Chris Charlton doing the translation, as soon as she's saying these words, you can see the venom in Mayu's eyes, where it's basically paraphrasing, New Japan, you don't care about this belt. Look what I've done with it. And just staring at the front office, sitting in the front row. And you can just see her. She was laser focused, like, no. We're doing, and obviously New Japan knows that this match is happening at the Tokyo Dome, or else the promo wouldn't happen. But Mayu took advantage of that and cut a great promo and said, we're doing this at the Tokyo Dome. And that's why, okay, now it's going to be Azumi. And then Azumi came out and you're like, yeah, this is going to absolutely steal the show. If it's given 9, 10, 11 minutes, this is going to be a great match. This Tokyo Dome show looks really good. Again, New Japan has done a great job this past year, even dealing with all the obstacles. They've done a great job of booking, making new stars, Zack Sabre Jr.'s, what they're doing with Shota Umino. A lot of great stuff considering no Okada, no Ospreay, Tanahashi, Ishii. They took themselves out of the G1 because they're just getting up there in age, and they've put in their fair share of great matches, for our entertainment over the last 15, 20 years. So it's a different New Japan, and they're making great strides with a lot of the wrestlers they're having. And this Tokyo Dome show is shaping up to be really good. And then you're throwing Azumi versus Mayu, a match that we've been waiting on for the IWGP Joshi Championship now for some 5-6 months. So yeah, again, great promo. Again, Mayu just like she had venom in her eyes, saying we couldn't do this match at the Tokyo Dome last year because you wouldn't give us the opportunity. I don't want it at Wrestle Dynasty. I want it at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom. And again, you're literally putting maybe the two most talented wrestlers in all of wrestling on a stage where you're going to draw, 35, 40,000 people. They're going to knock it out of the park. They're going to knock it out of the park, very much like Stardom did at a historic crossover. The Stardom girls 100% stole the show. I would not be shocked if Mayu and Azumi are going to be the two wrestlers that everybody's going to be talking about leaving the Tokyo Dome come January 4th, partner.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there is going to be that latent fear until the match actually happens about the timing of it. But you're absolutely right. You've got two of the most synonymous high-speed wrestlers to hold the belt in that match. So if they are going to get their time cut, then at least you've got those two. And I don't think it will be, because when we thought it was going to be Mayu versus Azumi at Historic Crossover, our thinking was, what two better adverts have you got for Stardom to people that have never seen Stardom? Mayu versus Azumi are going to be the two that you would put in a ring and say, right, this is Stardom. Watch this. Look how good this is. Okay, they didn't do it at Historic Crossover, which is fine because we've got Mayu and Momo, and bloody hell. But here, where they are the only Stardom participation, it's the only Stardom match on this Wrestle Kingdom card in front of, whether it's 20,000, whether it's 40,000, you are going to have people talking about Stardom leaving this show. And I'm just looking at the card now. So the full Wrestle Kingdom card, for those that don't know, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Evil. If that gets over 10 minutes, I swear to God, it will, but there we are. IWGP Junior Heavyweight 4-way for the tag titles. Kevin Natt and Kushida versus Catch 22 versus Ichiban Sweet Boys, Kosai Fujita and Robbie Eagles versus Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney. We've got a television title three-way, Ren Narita, Jeff Cobb, and Rihoy. Oh my God, I can never say it. Oiwa, basically. But the tag title, I can't imagine will go more than maybe 11 minutes, especially if it's a four-way, because it'll be just nuts. It really will. That match I'm really looking forward to. The three-way, that's got a 15-minute time limit anyway, and I can't see it with a three-way going the full 15. So there are three matches potentially that could be shortened. Obviously, Mayu and Azumi for the IWGP Women's title. You've then got Shingo versus Takeshita in a AEW International and Never Open Championship winner takes all match. Doki versus El Desperado for the junior heavyweight title. David Finlay versus Yota Tsuji for the global heavyweight title. And then, of course, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino as well. I think you can scratch off those last four matches as ones that will be cut for time. I would imagine that all of those are going to go 15 minutes plus. I think Mayu and Azumi is going to go 13, 14 minutes. Now, is that enough? I personally don't think so, but then again, we're Stardom fans. Again, if, as I think is going to happen, if Azumi beats Mayu at the Tokyo Dome, I don't think it's fair that Mayu's fantastic reign with this belt ends in a 10-minute match. Okay, she deserves a longer match to really showcase what she can do to really flex, and also to showcase Azumi as well. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, obviously. I personally think Azumi will take it because that's just the way I think it's going to go. But what do you think, Matt?
I don't know. I thought that this was going to be on Dream Queendom. That's who you would do the title change. So this, with it not being a Stardom proper show, even though it is on, the biggest show of the year, that's not WrestleMania. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because now I'm leaning a little more towards Mayu. It's honestly head you win, tails you win. It's like, how do you surpass this run that Mayu's on? It's like, how do you, give it to who's going to be the next person in line? And Azumi's a great shout. It's just, it's a win-win because, this match is going to be great. Obviously, this is my official prediction, but right now, towards Mayu. Again, if this was on Dream Queendom, I would go with Azumi because I think you would want to get that Azumi pop in front of this Stardom, diehard audience there. Obviously, you're gonna have some good Stardom, fans there. Don't get me wrong, but I think this title change needs to happen on a Stardom proper show. Again, could it be Azumi? Sure. Will I be upset if it's Azumi? Absolutely not. I love, I'm a huge, Rob. Everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Azumi, and I think Azumi is the next person in line after Mayu. But maybe this is something that they run back with, and maybe Azumi getting the win. Again, that I don't know. Regardless, I'm super excited for it. I do want to say this too. Again, we talked about Mayu cutting that just really heartfelt promo about how much what she's doing with the IWGP. I don't watch as much New Japan as I like, or as much as I used to. But every big championship match I've seen, every championship IWGP heavyweight championship match I've seen this year, all due respect to Sonata, all due respect to Naito, Jon Moxley, and now Zack Sabre Jr. With the exception of that match that happened a few weeks ago, Power Struggle, with Zack Sabre Jr. and Shingo.
Yeah,
Mayu's top three IWGP matches this year: Shuri, Sari, and Momo. There's not a single IWGP championship match that even comes close to it. The only one is Sabre and Shingo, and I would still list that one for Mayu, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Stardom fan. I'm not just saying this as a Mayu fan, because I am a New Japan fan as well. Mayu's the best IWGP champion right now. She is the best IWGP. There's nobody putting on the match quality that she has. And again, even the Mina match, was terrific. The Steph Acker match was great. I mean, all these other matches that she's had this year with this championship belt have been great. But there's not one IWGP heavyweight championship match that's as good as the match with Shuri, that's as good as the match with Sari, and that as good as this match we're going to talk about in a little bit with Momo. Mayu's on an absolute roll, and I'm just really, really glad to see her finally getting a big Tokyo Dome singles match, because there was I think it was 3 years ago that it was the reunion of one night of the MK sisters of Mayu and Starlight Kid taking on Tam and Sai Kamitani.
16, yeah.
Yeah, look where Sai and Tam are coming at the end of this year. So it's really cool. It's really cool to see. But it's like, Mayu's finally getting that big single. Not only Mayu, but Azumi as well. Obviously, Mayu, she's the icon of Stardom. What a year she's having, and we're not done yet. But it's nice to see that Azumi's getting that shout as well, because it's going to be great. It's going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. And thanks to New Japan for finally giving Stardom a proper spotlight on the big show.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to sort of echo what Matt said, this is actually Mayu's 4th match at Wrestle Kingdom, but only her 2nd televised one. It's Azumi's 2nd, but her 1st televised one. So for Azumi especially, I feel it's a well-earned reward for some stellar work throughout 2024. And of course, Mayu, as you've just said, Matt, her run this year has been tremendous. And even those matches that didn't reach the levels of Momo, as we're going to talk about, Sari and Suri at the start of this year, they've still surpassed expectations. Like, you look at the Tony Storm match, people were very much of the opinion, myself included, weren't sure what we were going to get, because Tony Storm is very character driven at the moment. She hadn't had that Joshi style match in a while in AEW, and yet, they both came out of the traps and delivered a really, really, really good match. So really happy for both women. I just hope it's given the time it deserves. It'll be interesting to see what both women do at Dream Queendom. But obviously one match that might be on Dream Queendom is to do with the International Women's Cup match. So New Japan announced that at Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th, we'll be having the International Women's Cup. Now, this will be a 4-way, where the winner of that 4-way will get the opportunity at a title of their choosing. Now, we have got 4 qualification 4-ways. So you've got a qualification 4-way for AEW, a qualification 4-way for CMLL, a qualification 4-way for Ring of Honor, and then a qualification 4-way for Stardom. So you will have the winners of those 4-ways go on to the final Wrestle Dynasty, where the winner of that match will be granted a title shot. Now, obviously, currently, we don't know the Stardom participation. We don't know the Ring of Honor participation, and we don't know the AEW participation. We do, however, as of this morning, know the participation for CMLL. So just to run this through, and this comes courtesy of Lucha Blog on Twitter, we have got Reina Isis, Zeuxis, who we have seen, I believe, on either the CMLL Fantastica Mania shows. I believe it was her and someone else that teamed against Starlight Kid and Ruaka, I think.
Yeah, he was the standout of that match. That wasn't named Starlight Kid, obviously.
Yeah. Stanley and Persephone. So for those, that will take place on the 13th of December. Persephone is the current Universal Champ. Sanely is the current National Champion. Zeuxis is the current World Champion. And Reina Isis is the Grand Prix winner. Matt, a couple of things to take from this, because obviously huge news. We thought we were going to get maximum of 2 Stardom matches. If this could potentially be an additional match as well to highlight more Stardom talent, that's great. I imagine that this 4-way is going to take place at Dream Queendom, because it's a nice undercard match to have. It's a match with stakes, which means that we don't just have to have, your run-of-the-mill 6-woman, 8-woman tags, which Stardom do fantastically well, but it's a match with stakes, which is what we want on your big show to close out the year. My question to you is, who are the 4 women, and who goes on to wrestle at Wrestle Dynasty?
Could be Suriano, if she doesn't wrestle Mako Satomaro. What's Micah doing? You know what I mean? What's Mina doing? I know I believe Mina is actually scheduled for the AEW pay-per-view this weekend. I think they're supposed to be doing a celebration, a champagne celebration with Mariah May. That one Tony Storm, who just retired, may or may not show up there, but that's retired.
She's done, Matt. That's it now. She will never step into the ring again, ever.
That I don't. I think Mike is a good shout, and actually our man on the street, Andy Hedder, he gave a little prediction, and his prediction was he thinks the 4-way for Stardom is going to be, this is really good, Yuna, Hanan, Suzu, and Micah. That's a good shot. And then he has Now, is this going to be, because I think Andy might have this wrong, this, as far as who wins this Wrestle Cup, is it a 2-match series or is this another 4-way at Wrestle Dynasty? Or is it like a bracket style, semifinals and finals?
To my knowledge, looking at the current layout, it's a 4-way. So it's a case of winner of the Ring of Honor 4-way, AEW 4-way, CMLL 4-way, and Stardom 4-way. Each of those will then go into a 4-way at Wrestle Dynasty.
That's what I thought. Andy Hatter has here, and I just been so busy trying to get caught up on stuff since I got back. He has Micah over Anna Jay in the finals, but that's because I think he thought it was a 4-way. However, Yuna, Han, and Suzu and Micah, that's a tasty little 4-way, my friend. That's a really, really good idea. But he's got Micah taking the whole thing. I mean, you can Micah, Yuna. I mean, there really isn't a bad shout outside of the rookie that just debuted. Just because I don't think they would throw her in there. There's what other 4 women can you go with? But I agree. This match should be on this 4-way should be on Wrestle Kingdom because again, great underneath match. Maybe you're doing an Azumi Mayu, Neo Genesis versus Stars thing to build up their match, on the 4th as well. So yeah, that's what I would go with. Soriano is a great shout. I guess they're going to do Poi and Starlight Kid. I'm just trying to go through my head who else they don't have any like major plans for. But Yuna's a great shout. Momo Kogo, we always know that she shines through. I think they're going to do May Sarah and Rena at Dream Queendom. I don't know, but there's a lot of there's really no wrong answers. How about you, partner? Where are you going with? I'm going to say Soriano is going to be in this again, not unless they do her Mako Satomoro. I'm going to say Yuna's going to be in it. I'm going to say that Mike is going to be in it. Maybe Mina, because maybe they want Mina. Because, again, this is a co-produced show. And obviously the higher-ups on AEW are very high on one Mina Shirakawa. Maybe you have Mina in this, and then Mina wins. That would be my guess. My only thing that as far as like the AEW, CMLL, and Ring of Honor, for Ring of Honor, it's got to be Athena that wins this. I mean, it's got to be Athena on her block because she's definitely earned that opportunity to represent Ring of Honor in the Tokyo Dome. So my only thing is, it's got to be Athena on the Ring of Honor side. As far as AEW, there's Serena Deeb's a good shout. Deanna Purrazzo is a good shout. There's a lot of really good ones. CMLL, I'm not that too familiar with. I wish Steph Facker would have held off a little bit, maybe to sign her contract. But with WWE, so she could have been in this, but she's absolutely crushing it. And we'll get into that when we do Marigold again. But oh man, how about you, partner? Where who do you think the 4 ladies that are representing Stardom are?
So obviously, Wrestle Dynasty co-promoted show. I imagine that Athena will defend that women's championship at Wrestle Dynasty. So I don't think they will put champions in this. So from AW, Ring of Honor, CMLL obviously is its own beast, and Stardom. I don't think any champions go into these 4 ways. In terms of Stardom, if you're going to do it at Dream Queendom, that does take out Starlight Kid. Because if we were doing it at any other point, I would say Starlight Kid is a shoo-in in that 4-way. But with it happening, and again, we don't know if it's happening at Dream Queendom. This is me and Matt spitballing, but Starlight Kid is one of the biggest baby faces you have, as proved by historic crossover. Momo Watanabe.
Even when I saw this, I think I tweeted out Momo for the win. That might have been when I was 4 pineapple and vodkas in. That's when I was. Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're thinking of Yuna Mizumori.
Look at you. On fire.
Thank you. So yeah, excluding the champions, I'm thinking Momo Watanabe is a shout. Micah, I think, is a great shout. It was someone I was thinking of, especially when you're going down that Dream Queendom, going down those storylines. You haven't got anyone really for Micah. I think we both think it's going to be Syuri and Konami at Dream Queendom in some manner of stipulation match, whether it's UWFI, which they've already done, or whether it's...
Your mic went out, buddy. Your mic went out. Your mic.
There we go.
There it is.
It was because I messed with the wire. So I would go Micah, Momo Watanabe, Hanan. And again, depends on who wins the tag league, I suppose. And if they get that chance at the Goddess belt, that's a good point. Momo's going to be in the Goddess belt.
Yeah. We just talked ourselves in and out of it within 1 minute. That's what we do.
Damn it.
That's what we do. Wait till we get to this. If this is your first time on the Stardom Cast, one, welcome, and two, wait till our Cinderella tournament bracket because we talk ourselves out of everything.
9 times out of 10, we talk ourselves out of the actual winner as well. Yeah, I think Mike is a shout. Depending on who wins the tag league, Hanan is a good shout. Yuna Mizumori has earned it massively. Like, I'm not saying go on to Wrestle Dynasty, but she deserves a spotlight at least because even, at Korakuen when she was going for the high-speed belt, she did a tremendous job. I think Suzu Suzuki is a good shout. She actually got a really good reaction at Historic Crossover as well. Stardom are in a very fortunate position where you can plug pretty much anyone into this and you will get a great match. Saori Anou is a really, really good shout. A really good shout because she is one of the most consistent performers on that roster, a high level as well in terms of performance. She hasn't got a storyline going into Dream Queendom. You know that she will crush it if she goes on to Wrestle Dynasty. I'd love to say Hazuki, but you've obviously got Hazuki who's doing a main event Strong Style Evolved in, a couple of weeks before Dream Queendom. It's an interesting one. Again, they might throw this in the main event of a Korakuen.
Yeah, you're right. Tomoka is another shout. I mean, so it's, again, their roster's so deep that it's just like, it's exciting. It's really exciting, and it's nice to see that you're going to get at least, my guess is there's going to be a Stardom proper match on this show as well. So you're going to get at least 2 women's matches on this show. So, and that's the day after Mayu and AZM absolutely tear it up. So, yeah, Wrestle Kingdom weeks, it's going to be a fun time, brother. It's going to be a fun time.
It is when you throw in First Dream as well, and Dream Queendom on the 29th, and Stardom show on January 3rd as well, which they advertised during Historic Crossover. It's going to be a busy time, certainly.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Beautiful. I mean, we could just sort of the most sensible thing to do, of course, is to have Fukigen Death win the entire thing. But unfortunately, she's still out injured and is due out for at least another 6 months, I think. So, unfortunately, she's not going to be there, which, of course, means that they have got a booking headache because that was just a shoe-in. Moving on to a couple of bits of news regarding Stardom wrestlers out and about. Pro Wrestling Wave are in the process of crowning the next number 1 contender to Saya Kamitani's Regina de Wave Championship, which, of course, she defeated Yuki Miyazaki for back on November 4th. They announced, they being Pro Wrestling Wave, that at Wave Next, or Next Wave 2024, which is a 16-woman single elimination tournament to crown the next number 1 contender. The names are as follows. Mizuki Kato, Yori, Nanami, Harukaru Misaki, Hikari Shimizu, Kakeru Sakaguchi, Itsuki Aoki, Maika Ozaki, Kurumi Hiragi, Cherry, Tomoka Watanabe, Honoka, Kohaku, Yuki Miyazaki, and Yumi Oka. And then, of course, rounding it all off, it is the bear herself, Koguma. Kuma. So, yes, Koguma has been entered into this tournament. It runs through from, if I can just find my notes, the rules have actually been outlined in the Tokyo Sports article, and Mira Wrestling on Twitter has translated them. So each round is drawn randomly. So there's no bracket in this tournament. The first round has got a 10-minute time limit. The second round will increase to 15 minutes, semifinals to 20, and then the final will be wrestled with no time limit. And then interestingly, any match that does end, whether it's in a draw or a double count out or whatever, without a definitive winner, it will see the younger wrestler progressing to the next round, irrelevant of experience. Now, in terms of tiebreakers, Matt, that might be the weirdest one I've ever seen.
They should have put Rena in it then. Stardom should have just put Rena in it.
Absolutely. That
Try
would have
to
been
outlast
brilliant.
everybody. Yeah, try to outlast everybody. That's what I would have done.
Absolutely. Just doing double count out after double count out after double count out. Now, it is worth pointing out that the first rounds have already happened. The tournament's going to be running from November 16th in Shinkiba First Ring through to December 15th in Osaka. That's when the final is. Koguma has already progressed past the first round. She defeated Kakeru Sekiguchi, and that was back on, obviously, November the 16th, where she defeated her in 7 minutes and 52 seconds. So she is into the quarterfinals, which is good for the Bear. Moving on from Koguma, we move on to Hanako, who's announced yesterday will be making her Sendai Girls debut. And what a debut it is, Matt, because on November the 30th, in the Edion Arena, Osaka number 2, as we continue Meiko Satomura's march towards her retirement, Hanako is going to be facing Chihiro Hashimoto. Yes, please. Yes, please. Now, obviously, you know, we all know Chihiro Hashimoto is winning this because it's Chihiro Hashimoto. But this is going to be some good, powerful, muscly nonsense. And I'm all here for it. Someone on Blue Sky, I can't remember who it was, someone on Blue Sky put, they could literally just flex and shout at each other and it would still absolutely slap. And they're absolutely right. These two could just do a flex off and it would still be really, really good. But any excuse for me to watch Chihiro Hashimoto, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the very few times that Chihiro Hashimoto doesn't have the strength, advantage into this. However, it's gonna be really cool to see her dump Hanako right in the back of her head because that release German suplex is coming. We've seen her do it to Himiko. We've seen her do it to Mirai. We've seen her do it to Shuri. So so many different opponents. Sendai Girls is just absolutely cooking. And as we're recording this, well, as this episode will drop, is the same day as Shuri versus Miko Wada. So not only that, but I think this past weekend there was that match that like Aja Kong, Meiko Satomura, Sari, and I think like Chi-Chi on it or something like that. So I have a lot of Sendai Girls to get caught up on, and this is just another great match. And it's going to be a great shot for Hanako. Get, again, another match outside of the promotion against one of the best Joshi wrestlers that isn't wrestling in Stardom in Chihiro Hashimoto. So this is going to be a fun match. It's going to be a big learning experience from Hanako because she's not used to wrestling somebody that is physically stronger than her. Obviously, she's taller than Chihiro Hashimoto, but Chihiro Hashimoto is probably, the strongest Joshi in all of Japan. So, going to be interesting. It's going to be another great match from Sendai Girls.
And of course, if this leads to a Team 200 kg against a Cup High Mate match, I'm more than happy with that.
I want to see your match. I want to see your match, buddy.
We didn't get Team 200 kg in the tag league, so why not run that instead? It would be great. Let's start looking then at a Stardom show. In particular, let's have a look at New Blood West 2, aired on the 16th of November 2024 from the Azalea Teisho Hall in Osaka. We'll talk about the attendance very, very shortly. Just a couple of notes from this show. Devil Princess, who are, of course, the third New Blood Tag Team Champions, will be defending their belt for the second time against Lady C and Rana Yagami. It's Lady C's third attempt at these belts and Rana Yagami's first. The new Stardom rookie, Matoi, will make her debut at this show, competing against Hanan, and her first ring or her official ring name will also be announced prior to the show. Just about Sumika Yamagawa will make her Stardom debut, while teammate Misa Karuga will make her second appearance following her participation in New Blood 3 back in 2022. Momoka Hanazono makes her very eagerly anticipated return to Stardom for the first time since the 18th of November 2023, where she was unsuccessful in a bid for the High Speed Championship against Mei Seira, and then return appearances also for Sendai Girls as Chi-Chi and Zones, who both make their return, having not wrestled for Stardom since New Blood West 1 back on the 17th of November 2023, almost an entire calendar year between appearances. In terms of attendance then, 246 people in attendance. Now, Stardom have only run this venue once prior. That, of course, was New Blood West 1, which is the show that I've just talked about. They drew 278 for that. So this is a decrease of just over 11.5%. It is, however, a 4% increase from the previous New Blood event in the chronology, which, if you remember, is New Blood 16, because they only drew 236 to that show, and that was Devil Princess versus Rice or Bread for the New Blood Tag Team Championships in the main event. Looking ahead then at the results, Matoi, who of course prior to the show, President Taro Okada announced the official ring name of the new rookie would be Matoi Hamabe rather than just Matoi. She would go up against Hanan in her debut match. She would lose via Boston Crab in 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Tag team match, Neo Genesis team of Meiseiru and Miyu Wamasaki defeated Momoka Hanazono and Yuna Mizumori. Meiseiru rolling up Yuna Mizumori with a schoolboy in 12 minutes and 35 seconds after an errant bubble one shot. Tag team action, Sumiki Yanagawa and Misa Kagura defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Ai Sakura and Sayaka Kurora. Misa Kagura getting the pinfall over Sayaka Kurora with the fantastically named, sometimes Misa with the hair. That's legitimately what the move apparently is called.
Only
15
sometimes.
minutes.
Only
sometimes. 15 minutes and 38 seconds. Tag team main event, semi-main event, sorry. Chi-Chi and Zones defeated the EXV team of Hanako and Rian. Chi-Chi pinning Rian with the backdrop in 11 minutes and 51 seconds. And then, of course, your main event, the New Blood Tag Team Championships match. Devil Princess, Rina and Azusa Inaba retained their belts, completing their second successful title defense. Azusa Inaba pinning Rani Yagami with the Azusa Inaba Sister Super. Another fantastic move name. 16 minutes and 20 seconds. Matt, a solid show. I thought, enjoyed it, flew by, as these New Blood shows often do. For me, there are a lot of really good performances. I thought Matoi Hamabe, who we're going to be talking about a lot, I imagine, was tremendous in this debut. Credit to Hanan as well, because as she mentioned back in Chiba on the 11th of November, this is the first time she's wrestled against someone who has debuted, and I think she did a tremendous job leading the match. I thought that Chi-Chi and Zones versus Hanako and Rian was really, really entertaining, especially those power exchanges between Zones and Hanako. Thought the main event was great as well. But let's talk about this debut. Matoi Hamabe versus Hanan. Matt, we had a lot of expectation for Hamabe after her sparring session with Milano Collection AT in Corrigan Hall. And I think this cemented the fact that she is a very, very, very talented wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, Hanan, your first match, New Blood, and this is literally the perfect spot. This is how you debut somebody. Show in front of about 250 people, so you're not overwhelmed. You have 10 minutes against Hanan, who's going to lead this match. I thought Matoi was terrific. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary. It was solid technical wrestling. It was an easy story to tell. They got the crowd where they needed to get to them. Just really great psychology. Again, Matoi, I think I've been saying this since the debut of Miyu Amasaki, a little over 2 years ago. These Stardom wrestlers, when it comes to their footwork, their timing, their ring positioning, their selling, their psychology, for the veteran and to able to lead them where they need to go, they're 3 or 4 years ahead of their time. We've seen it with Hanako. We've seen it with Yuzuki, obviously, over Marigold. We've seen it with Rani Yagami. What Aya and Sayaka is doing is absolutely fantastic. And Matoi's right there. You can see in the first match, okay, she's going to be one that comes spring of next year that is going to be having some excellent, excellent matches on these Stardom shows. And again, this is the proper way to do it. Having her in the ring with an experienced wrestler like Hanan. You don't want Matoi's first handful of matches to be in the ring with one of the other rookies or somebody that's only wrestling a year and a half. Somebody like Hanan is the perfect opportunity. Hanan does a great job leaving the match, a really great back and forth towards the end. They do a great job building up the Boston Crab because it happens a few times in the match. And we've seen that a lot with the New Japan and Young Lions matches where they're just working the Boston Crab, working it, trying to tell a simple story. I thought this was great. 3.5 stars. I thought Matoi's selling, especially towards the end, was really, really good. I was really impressed with it, and I can't wait to see what she's going to do, in the next few months, in the next few years, buddy, because just like Star's been able to pump out these great rookies over the last handful of years, here's another one in Matoi. I mean, I really see big things for her on the horizon in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, and I think as well, yes, the match was quite safe, as you would assume it would be. First time in ring in front of people, of course, it's going to be. I thought it was technically sound, as you pointed out. However, she was still brave enough to attempt little bits of athleticism. So getting out of the hand and head scissors by doing the jumping and then the kip up. I thought that was really good, really bold to do that. And then again, something that doesn't happen enough for me is people fighting against submissions. So that the first time someone locks in a submission, they're going to get to the ropes. It's standard, and then the second time, third time, that's when they tap out, and they tap out relatively quickly. However, here, especially the second time, Matoi was in the hold for ages, and I love that because it's a proper battle, and you can see her battling herself like, it's my debut match. I don't want to tap out. The pain eventually gets too much, and she has to. And I really enjoyed that because we don't see that enough in wrestling as a whole, to be honest. People fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and then eventually giving up. I really love that. And then following the submission victory, Hanan took to the microphone and stated that she was incredibly impressed, as she would be. I think they're both very similar in style. They're both 19. They're both judokas as well. And offered her a place in Stars, which Hamabe said she would consider. Obviously, we have only seen her once. We know that she is on the coming shows for the Tag League. On this one show, Matt, do you think she would be a good fit for Stars?
I tell you what, I know 3 factions she wouldn't be a good fit for: Queen's Quest, Oedo Tai, and Club Venus. I don't think she's going to end up in those factions. I don't know. She doesn't look like a dancer, so Cosmic Angels might be out. I think Stars
she'd still get it quicker than Waka.
Oh, I'm not going to bet against you. I think poor Waka. I think he did that, or EXV. I think EXV needs to start building up some members and maybe even push Waka up the card. We did see that she had the Goldberg-like streak going on to the early days of the Goddess Tournament. So maybe Waka. Stars would be good. Again, look who you're going to be in the same faction with and in the ring with: Mayu, Hanan, Saida, Hazuki, Kagama. So that's a good shout, but maybe EXV would be a good one. Maybe they turn the heel right off the bat and put her to hate. I mean, that's a possibility. You never know what they're doing there.
Why do you do these things? Why do you say these things? Why do you put it into the universe?
Neo Genesis, she's not cool enough just yet. Like, that's the cool kids table.
Harsh.
Neo, not yet. She can get there.
Yeah, she can get there. You aren't cool.
Well, we don't know just yet. We've only seen her once, but I think EXV or Stars for now, it to me is the early thing. I just think that's funny. You just had your rookie match, and Hanan's like, you want to come in this faction where our leader is Mayu Iwatani, the greatest wrestler like ever. We have a Hazuki, and we have a bear and a gorilla and Metal Momo Togo, and I just won the Cinderella tournament. And he's like, I'll think about it. Like, I was like, really? Like, really? Like, after the Carnage crew beat up me, I would have loved to have been able to hang out with any of the factions when I debuted for Ring of Honor. But yeah, I just think that was kind of funny. So Stars and EXV, I think, would be a good shout, buddy. But how about you? What do you say? What do you think?
I see her as a replacement for Yuzuki because Stars never replaced her. So it would make sense, especially if you're looking to just develop her skills as opposed to developing a character. You've got the red meat baby faces in Stars. I don't see. I could potentially maybe see her in God's Eye, maybe. But again, I think she fits in Stars. I know that she is teaming with Stars. I think it's Saturday in the next show. Anyway, I know that she's in a 10-woman with Stars, so perhaps we'll see a little bit more chemistry there. Moving on then to the Neo Genesis versus Hanazono and Yuna Mizumori. And I've said this before, but every single time I see Momoka Hanazono, I remember how much I love her. I think she's tremendous. The chemistry that she had with Miyu Amasaki, especially, was really, really good. The speed and passion that she has with Sarah, obviously unquestionable, but the comedic stylings that she had with Miyu Amasaki really stood out to me here.
Yeah, this match starts off and picks up right where May and Yuna left off from that match in Korakuen Hall that we talked about earlier. So, I mean, you're off to a hot start there. Moko Hanazono, she's just like a fun wrestler. Like, she's a really great wrestler that's just there to have fun. It's just like, you can't hate her. You know you're going to have a good time watching her because she's great in the ring. She's great in tag matches, singles matches, and she's just fun. I will get the one negative out of the way. Maybe the only negative I say about this entire show that we're about to do, when you're putting soap in somebody's eyes, it's got to be a DQ, right? I mean, it's got to be a DQ. Regardless, maybe because Momoko Hanazono was just so loving that they just kind of let it go. But no, in all seriousness, this was a great match, with May and Miyu as a team. That's not a team we see teaming up too often in Neo Genesis. Usually it's it's Crazy Star or it's O2 line. So it's really cool seeing them mix them up, the tag teams with the factions, especially on the New Blood shows. I thought Yuna here was terrific. Again, Momoko Hanazono. I mean, that's somebody that Stardom wants to put as a satellite member onto Cosmic Angels. I'm all for it. She fits the bubbly vibe, and she teamed up really well here with, literally. See what I did there? You picked right up on it, my man. You're on a roll. Pineapple thing, we're going.
Look at that.
We're only 2 matches in, but I thought this was terrific. I thought this was because, it's really weird because this weekend there was no Goddess of Stardom tag league matches with obviously this show and then Historic Crossover. But Stardom's still like, let's still put on a whole bunch of great tag matches on New Blood. And they did. And this was the first one. I thought this was terrific. Yuna, we said it about 7-8 months ago that she had great chemistry with Soriano. And we've been saying it over the last 4 or 5 shows. She's got great chemistry with Aya Sakura. She got great chemistry with Momoko Hanazono, which just goes to show you just what a great wrestler that she is. And it's just she just gels with everybody. So not only as in tag teams, but as opponents as well, because she's got great chemistry with May Sarah. Her stuff with Miyu Amasaki was terrific. This was just a solid wrestling match. It's something I thoroughly enjoyed. This one. It went a shade under 13 minutes. I had this at 4 stars, buddy. I enjoyed it that much. I really, really enjoyed the action that I saw. And I'm going to tag you in, my man, because I had a little bit too much water this morning. So I'll be back in like 30, 40 seconds.
All right, then. All right. Let's move on then. So we have Sumika Yanagawa and Misa Kagura against the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora. Of course, Yanagawa making her Stardom debut. But for me, there are 2 stories in this match. One, how good Aya Sakura is becoming, how confident she is in her movements, how confident she is in herself throughout this match. Not just throughout this match, the development of her, especially since she's come back from this injury, has been tremendous. And it seems to have accelerated recently. It really does. She seems to have gone from, consistently good, consistently solid to the standout in matches. Obviously, in the Goddess of Storm Tag League, her and Yuna's team, even though they are eliminated, have been so enjoyable to watch. And a lot of that is because of Aya Sakura. And full credit to her here. There was a big, obviously, angle with her later on in the show, but I thought she was absolutely great here. Misa Kagura, obviously, apparently has an angle going with Tam Nakano, which we'll be talking about shortly. But Matt, great timing. What did you think of the debut of Sumika Yanagawa and the return of Misa Kagura? And I was just waxing lyrical, as I often do, about the development of Aya Sakura, who is fast becoming one of the highlights of every show she's on.
It was so funny because when they announced right before they announced the brackets for the tag league, we're like, Aya and Sayaka, that's the team, right? They're definitely going to team them up. And they're like, oh, Sayaka went with Tam and Aya went with you. And I'm like, that's really weird. And then by the second or third match, like, yeah, we don't care because they're great with Tam and Yuna. And then this match happens, and I'm like 90 seconds in. I'm like, oh yeah, these 2 are great as a tag team, which again just goes to show how stacked Stardom's tag division is. And then the 2 girls from Just Tap Out, I've never seen them wrestle before. It's been a while, and just from the entrance alone, just from like the connection they had with the audience from the entrance, I'm like, okay, these are going to be 2 wrestlers to watch out for. I thought both of them were terrific. I thought I hope I'm saying this right. Yamagata was really good, but Misa for me was really the standout of this entire match. And this is what's great about the new blood concept. You're taking stardom wrestlers, which we know a lot of, obviously, because we do the podcast, and wrestlers from different promotions that we either know next to nothing about or very little. And I was pleasantly surprised of how great this match was. The Just Tap Out girls were terrific. Obviously, Aya and Sayaka representing Stardom and Cosmic Angels. They're great. I have a feeling that they're going to be new blood tag team champions within the next 7 or 8 months. I think eventually they're going to be the ones to dethrone Devil Princess and Rena and Zeus and above. That's another story for another day. This was a terrific match. I was shocked that the Stardom team didn't get the win, but we've noticed that over the last few new blood shows when they're bringing in these other wrestlers from different companies, they're getting wins over the Stardom alum. So, but regardless, I thought this was another terrific match. I actually had it at 4 stars. I thought the way that everybody gelled was terrific. I thought there was really great energy from the girls from Just Tap Out. Great striking and great submissions from Aya and Sayaka. I would love to see these girls from Just Tap Out come back into Stardom, not just New Blood, but actual Stardom from time to time. I'd love to see them to take on Devil Princess. I'd love to see them to take on Konami and Sai Kamitani. I'd love to see them take on Wingori. I'd love to see them take on FWC and in a match somewhere down the road, because I thought they were terrific. I thought they were terrific, and again, just the chemistry they had with the crowd, not only bell to bell but curtain to curtain. I would love to see them back sometime soon. I was really impressed. Again, 4 stars for me, partner.
Yeah, and it doesn't come as a surprise once you realize that we are building to a singles match between Misa Kagura and Tam Nakano. Obviously, Tam was out seconding Sayaka Kuro and Aya Sakura. Misa Kagura sort of challenged Tam, said Tam's the reason she's here, wants a singles match. Doesn't matter whether it's in a Stardom ring or a Just Tap Out ring. Looks like we could be seeing Tam in Just Tap Out sooner rather than later. Moving on then to the semi-main event, as the PowerPoint glitched for some reason. We had Rian and Hanako against Chi-Chi and Zones. Matt, I'm a big fan of Zones because of just the power, and the exchanges her and Hanako had were excellent. Sorry. No,
you pause. No, you go.
Okay. For the little that I've seen of Chi-Chi, the progress that I've seen in her is also phenomenal. Like last year, I saw her in New Blood West 1, and I was like, okay, she's all right. Yeah, she's good. And then I saw her on and off in the Jaja Uma tournament, which she would ultimately win against Aya Sakura, which leads into where we go afterwards. And seeing her here as well, the progress that she's made, she feels very much like a star in the making, like she's on the threshold almost. And it feels like, especially Sendai girls, really feel that way too. I know that Chi-Chi has just been announced in a singles match with Meiko Satomura at Evolution as well. So clearly a lot of stock put into Chi-Chi. How did you feel about her performance and Zones as well in this match?
Real quick, but I apologize for cutting you off. I'm just really excited, and you may say I'm really in the zones to talk about this show. Anywho, I enjoyed this match. I like how it's I like how Chi-Chi came right out the blocks and started throwing kicks to Hanako. Was like, I don't care that you're the biggest person on this show. I'm gonna run after you. And then like Hanako was kind of taken a surprise by it. And then once she hits that first shoulder tackle, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna start building my offense, which I thought was cool. Again, another cool little wrinkle in the game of Hanako. Chi-Chi, because I'm watching a little bit more Sendai Girls because of the Stardom participation and because how great their shows are. I've really been enjoying watching her. We've seen her at a few New Blood shows before. She's another one that's really climbing up the ladder. Her and Zones as a tag team work really well together. And it's nice to see the gelling of another team in EXV. Obviously, with Mina Shirakawa, constantly going from the States back to Stardom. We don't see her as much as we like. Xena, unfortunately, is out with an injury. So it's nice to see kind of them shaking up a little bit of the tag division in EXV. I thought Hanako and Rian, considering the fact that they're, the better part rookies, they worked really well together. I thought this was a solid enough outing. My concern going into the match was maybe because these New Blood shows, when it's a shorter card, the matches tend to get some time, which is fine. But with this match, when you kind of have 4 inexperienced wrestlers that really have never wrestled, they don't wrestle for different companies. If it goes that 16, 17 minute, it could get lost a little. This was a shade under 12 minutes. Perfect timing, great match, a really solid outing. Yeah, the again, Rihanna, her stuff was she was great. Chi was a standout quite a bit in this match, but those exchanges, as you said, partner, with Zones and Hanako, you knew they were coming. We didn't get it right off the bat just yet. They made us wait and build to it, which the fact that these wrestlers can do that and understand crowd psychology at such a young age and so early into the career is just a testament to how great these wrestlers are and will be in the future. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. I really enjoyed this. And again, the Stardom girls on the Stardom show eating another L. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, it looks like we're building back towards Chi-Chi and Aya Sakura maybe to get her win back, because after this match, Chi-Chi and Zones call out Taro Okada for giving them weak opponents. Aya Sakura comes out to defend Hanako, and Rihanna, a big brawl breaks out between Chi-Chi and Aya Sakura, and then in turn between Hanako and Zones. So there are potentially 2 more programs heading into the next New Blood show as well. And if I get to see Chi-Chi and Aya Sakura again, I am not complaining, and I'm certainly not complaining if it means we get Hanako and Zones on the next show as well. Title match main event then, New Blood Tag Team Championships on the line. Of course, we know that Devil Princess do retain, but again, some fantastic showings from both Rana and Lady C here, Matt, whose birthday it actually was the next day. And for her birthday, Rena bought her a boatload of abuse, which I thought was harsh. Especially, she's on the threshold of 30 and being called out by the 17-year-old brat is like, dude, come on. You've just won. What are you doing? But yes, overall, I thought this was another really, really good match. Really good chemistry between Devil Princess. But for me, Rani Yagami and Lady C, tremendous stuff once again.
Again, you have these 4 wrestlers, these 2 teams. If this was a Stardom World show, you're not going close to 17 minutes. Like they went to 16, 20. You're maybe getting 7 or 8 minutes because you have your Mayus, your Tams. Again, this is why I like the New Blood concept, because it's like, okay, let's see what we can do here. Let's see what you can do. Rena's terrific. Azusa terrific. We've seen them team before. Obviously, they're doing a great job in the middle of the Goddess of Stardom tag tournament. We've seen Lady C and Ronda Yagami team a little bit. They were terrific here. They were great. This was a great match. Again, you literally could have dropped this in the middle of the tag league as a tag league match, and we'd have been like, okay, this stands up with all the other great matches that they're having. We've seen Lady C and Arena wrestle before, whether it's in the singles matches, we've seen them before, whether it was Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai or Hate versus God's Eye. They have some very, very, I thought all their exchanges were really, really good here. But for me, Azusa, Ranigami, Rob. You knew I was going to go there. It's the kicks,
Absolutely.
It's the striking, it's the submissions, just excellent stuff. And we talk about it quite a bit over the last 2 or 3 shows, the excellent teamwork that is from the New Blood Tag Champs in Arena and Azusa. But Ranigami and Lady C were right there as well. I mean, no slouches. I mean, their teamwork, a lot of the stuff that they did using the kicks to set up Lady C's power, I thought was some really good shouts there. But it's just every time I see Rina and Azusa in a tag team, they're gelling even better. And I think that's one of the main purposes for them in the Goddess tournament is we know Stardom knows they have something special here with the 2 of them. Let's get them to gel more by putting them together on more shows, which just happens to be around the corner, the Goddess tournament. Perfect. Put them in there. They're doing great. And this match is in the middle of the tournament, not in the actual tournament, but you know what I mean. Again, another great Stardom tag match. 4 1/4 stars for me. I thought it was great. And I'm a big fan of Azusa using that big pumping knee to get the win on Ron Yagami. What's the fancy name for the pump knee again, Rob?
It is the Azusa Super Sister.
Now, what's a better name, that or the 1 shot, 1 kill Tomoka kick?
That just feels like she just said, well, it's 1 shot. It's me, I'm Tomoka. It's a kick and it kills. It just seemed very literal, and it just seemed like all the words crumbed together. But yes, I'm very intrigued to see who eventually dethrones Devil Princess. Obviously, we haven't seen challengers come out yet. I do wonder if we're going to get that throughout the course of the tag league. The next New Blood show is actually New Blood 17, which is going to be from New Pier Hall in Tokyo. on the 26th of December. So that's something to look forward to. On your Boxing Day, you've got a New Blood show, and you've got the next Marigold Corrigan as well. So lots and lots to look forward to. But yeah, I thought this show, Matt, despite the fact that we didn't have a Future of Stardom championship match, and, you know, despite the fact that we are in the midst of this tag league and we've got a historic crossover the following day, I still think that this show stood very well on its own 2 feet. Really, really quick, easy watching show, which is what these New Blood shows have sort of found their niche as recently, which, of course, is always good. Let's move on then to the main event of today's show, and that is Historic Crossover 2, the second in the chronology of historic crossover shows, from the 17th of November, Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2. In terms of attendance, the announced attendance for the show from Edion was 3,547, which is obviously a significant drop from the previous installment when it was in the Ariake Arena, 7,102 for that show. However, this show is still broadly in line with other New Japan shows emanating from the venue. So for comparison's sake, New Beginning in Osaka, which was February 11th with the United Empire versus War Dogs cage match, and Hiroshi Tanahashi and Okada's final singles match, that drew 5,327. That was back in February 11th. They haven't got close to that number since. The 2 G1 opening nights, so the first night drew 4,177. The second night only drew 2,545. Power Struggle, which was the week before this, had 4 title matches on it, including Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo, drew 3,773, which is just over 200 more than Historic Crossover drew. Now, considering for a moment that there was no Tetsuya Naito, there was no David Finlay, there was no Shingo, there was no Evil, there was no Shota Umino, there was no Hiromu Takahashi, Yota Tsuji, Doki, Sanada, Hanare, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, or any other Stardom champions, save for Zack Sabre Jr., this has to be considered, in my eyes, a really good number for Stardom, at least.
No Fuki in Death either, Rob. I mean,
the main draw. Absolutely. Yeah. What was the point? I would have cancelled the show, but they're braver than me.
Yeah, we made mention, and we knew they weren't getting 7,100 people. I don't think the building can fit that much. So we obviously knew it was going to be a big drop off from the first one because it's a different venue. But I think we made mention if this hits 3,000, 3,100, it's going to be a massive success because let's call it like we see it. This is a Stardom show with some New Japan wrestlers on it. And they drew 3,500 people. Who are the biggest stars on this show? I'm not just saying this. I do a Stardom podcast. Mayu, Momo, Suzu, Tam, Starlight Kid, Micah. I do want to make this point because, again, positive podcast. I'm a positive person. Once this card was full announced, there was a few New Japan wrestlers were like, we're not participating in it because what's the point? I will give credit to where credit is due. Every male on this wrestler went above and beyond to making sure these girls look good. The stuff that the Great Okan took in that match. The fact that Taguchi fell in love with Saya Kamitani only for Saya Kamitani to hit him in the nether regions and to toss him through chairs. The fact that Desperado sold the 360 lariat from Micah like he got shot with a gun and then took the suplex from him. The fact that Zack Sabre Jr. took Starlight Kid's Ase moonsault and sold it the way that he did. And I know it's a divisive match, and we know that a lot of people they don't like what's going on with the War Dogs, especially Clark Connors and Natsupoi. Maybe the most satisfying finish to any wrestling match was Natsupoi kicking the crap out of Clark Connors and the way Clark Connors sold for Natsupoi. You got to give credit where credit's due. He made absolutely. Natsupoi, she's not Micah. She's not Hanako. She is our murder pixie. She's our Wonder of Stardom champion. We love her, but she's 100 pounds soaking wet holding a brick. for Clark Connor, and we're going to get into it, for Clark Connors to sell the way he did and to put Natsupoi over every male on this show that participated, your flowers have to be given. Because, again, we know there were certain wrestlers, not to mention any names, and I'm going to get off the topic because we're a positive podcast, and that's not who I am and who you are, what we do. They didn't want to participate in the show. Fine, no problem. The Zack Sabre Juniors are, and he's going to have a great time. The Desperados are going to have a great time. We're going to have all these Tanahashi's going to be in it. He's going to have a great time and get these girls over, and they shine. This was I know some people are like, there's only one good match on the show. If that's what you think, more power to you. I thought the show was terrific. I thought the opening tag was great. I thought the pre-show was great. I thought the hardcore match was terrific. I thought the main event, considering the fact they had to follow one of the best wrestling matches all year, they had a great match. I was like, boy, how are you going to follow that? They got pretty close. I'll give credit where credit's due. I thought this was a great show. I thoroughly enjoy this, and I hope they do more shows. I hope this is a yearly thing. I really do. And hopefully some of the other New Japan wrestlers will wake up and understand wrestling is evolving, because these wrestlers, they had a good time, and this was a terrific show, partner. I loved it. Love this show.
Yeah, in terms of wrestling, is it going to crack show of the year? No, probably not. Aside from Momo Watanabe and Mayu, in terms of, actually, there's some good matches on here. But in terms of a fun show and wrestlers clearly having a really good time, you're not going to find many more better shows than this, because, as you mentioned, Matt, Zach Despy looked like he was having the time of his life, and I know it's the first time he's wrestled, competitively in a competitive environment since July. I get that, but he looked like he was having the time of his life. Taichi, the way Taichi sold that forearm from Tekla, I thought that they were going to have to roll him out of the ring and put him on a forklift. I thought he was gone. I thought he was done. You're absolutely right. Every single one that did participate did so much to get over the Stardom wrestlers. And then when the Stardom wrestlers were given the ball, God, did they run with it. Absolutely. And of course, yes, that hardcore match, if you don't like hardcore stuff, you're not going to particularly like that match. And I know there is one divisive spot in that match, which we'll be talking about. Yes, I don't think it should have happened, and I would have preferred the match had it not happened, but save for that, I thought the match was really good. And the fact that the Great O'Khan took as much as he did, and the story in that match, I did enjoy the match itself, regardless of that spot.
I will be putting the Matt Turner positive spin on that spot, my friend. I will. I don't agree with it, but from a psychology aspect, I'm going to put the Matt Turner positive spin on that as much as I can. So there's your listener retention for something in about 5-6 minutes we're going to be talking about.
Listener retention for how Matt is going to positively spin a thumb in the ass. I am really
I'm going to do
intrigued.
as best as I can. Again, I agree that it shouldn't have happened, but you know what? This is what I do. This is how I am. This is just all right. Anywho, go ahead, good sir. We'll get to it.
Let's go through the results then. So we open with a tag team match. Ai Sakura and Hanako defeating Sayaka Kurora and Rani Yagami. Hanako pinning Sayaka Kurora with the JP coaster in 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Tag team match opened the main card proper. The Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano and Shiori Ano defeated Karate Brave, Shiori and Tomoka Inaba, when Tam Nakano pinned Tomoka Inaba with the Violet Screwdriver in 10 minutes and 16 seconds. 6-woman tag match, Neo Genesis, Azumi, Meisei and Miyu Amasaki defeated the Hate team of Konami, Rina and Ruaka. Azumi pinning Rina with the diving double foot stomp in 10 minutes and 41 seconds. 6-man tag match, the only pure New Japan match on this entire card. The United Empire team of Jeff Cobb, Callum Newman, and Akira Francesco defeated the team of Tiger Mask, Bolton Oleg, and Tori Yano when Francesco pinned Tiger Mask with the Fireball in 8 minutes and 5 seconds, which is a great name for those double knees to the back of the head. 8-person mixed tag team match. Gabe Kidd, Drilla Maloney, Saya Kamitani, and Natsuko Tora defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. Ryusuke Taguchi, Hanan, and Saya Ida. Gabe Kidd pinning Taguchi with the pile driver in 13 minutes and 57 seconds. New Japan King of Pro Wrestling 2024 Championship Hardcore Rules match. The Great Okan, the champion, defeated Suzu Suzuki to retain with an eliminator through a bin and a ladder in 21 minutes and 13 seconds. Mixed tag match, Natsupoi and Taichi defeated Violence and Sex, as apparently they are called, Clark Tonners and Tekla. Natsupoi pinning Tekla with the Ferial Gift in 22 minutes and 37 seconds. Semi-main event, IWGP Women's Championship match. Mayu Iwatani retained her IWGP Women's Championship at the 8th time of asking, defeating Momo Watanabe with the two-step Dragon Suplex in 24 minutes and 13 seconds. And then in your main event, the mixed tag team match, Zack Sabre Jr. and Micah defeated El Desperado and Starlight Kid. Micah pinning SLK with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 21 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, Matt, before we get in the match, obviously we had a 4-person commentary booth for this. Walker Stewart, Chris Charlton, Tom Fain, and Xena as well, who it was great to hear on the call as well. There are times when a 4-person booth can feel like quite a lot, but I think after a few initial sort of issues, I think the 4-person team worked really well. I thought Tom was really good with the stardom knowledge. I thought Chris Charlton was tremendous as always. Walker is tremendous at what he does. And Xena was able to offer those insights. I've never been a fan of 4 people on a commentary booth because I do think it's too many. But I think these 4 did really well.
Yeah, I think even sometimes 3 can be too many. It all depends.
Absolutely,
you need to get your timing down, but you can just see the professionals that Walker and Chris are, because again, it was kind of, you need to get the feeling out process. It didn't take long. Once they did, Walker and Chris were like, what do you think about this, Tom? Or Walker would be like, that chop has to hurt. Xena. And then Xena would give the insight. Where again, Tom is, I know he's done commentary for some shows in the United States. Obviously, I think this is only his second time doing anything Stardom related. Obviously, we had the show in Nagoya that him and Walker did, and did a fantastic job. And from what we understand, Walker and Tom are going to be the commentating team for Stardom for English commentary for the foreseeable future, which I'm 1,000% for, because they are great together.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
Again, you look at what's the experienced team here, Walker and Chris, because they've been doing New Japan for the past, I think, 2.5 years. They did a great job realizing, here's what we're going to throw to Tom, here's what we're going to throw to Xena. And then once they got that going, again, it was only maybe the first 15, 20 minutes. Once they got it going, they were fantastic at it. They worked out really, really well. And again, Chris speaking Japanese absolutely perfectly. Whenever these post-match promos happen or anything like that, we were there. We didn't have to wait for a translation. We knew what was going on. So, yeah, 4-person team could be a little bit too much, but everybody played their role perfectly. And all 4 of these were terrific. And, yeah, it's great that seeing Xena. Obviously she wasn't wrestling, but she was back. She was back. But however, it was great seeing Xena, but probably the best thing seeing in that commentating was Tom's jacket, because boy,
wow,
he looked like he was a cross between Jim Cornette and maybe Freddie Blassie with that jacket.
I must admit, I did enjoy Walker and Chris trying to cram in as many references to his jacket as is humanly possible in a pay-per-view length. That was quite impressive. My theory is because they were so high up, the only way that anyone could see where the English commentary team was if Tom was acting like a lighthouse with that jacket on.
It was the bat
like
signal.
A beacon.
It was the bat signal.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of these matches, and we'll start with the pre-show. Both this and the opener between Cosmic Angels and Karate Brave were aired for free on YouTube. You can check that out on the Stardom YouTube site. I thought this was a really, really good start, Matt, to be perfectly honest. And I enjoyed as well the different chemistry that we had here, because we've seen Sayaka Kurora and Aya Sakura team together the very previous day, and they bought something a little bit different. Plus, Sayaka Kurora, we didn't talk about her a lot in New Blood West 2. My God, did she save up that spear for Hanako, because she thundered into Hanako with that. Like, we've commented on how it's looked more and more powerful, more and more confident. This one, there was just a dull thud as Sayaka Kurora just plowed through Hanako. It was great. I thought this was a good pace set for the pay-per-view as a whole, Matt.
Yeah, they even built up, again, considering the fact this is a pre-show match that went around 10 minutes, they even built up that spear because she tries to hit it on Hanako right before, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that's going to look like, because Sayaka's got a really cool looking spear. And then Hanako's like, not today. And then it's like a couple seconds later, she hits it, and Hanako takes this big bump. So again, you're building this match around one move, which was great. When this match was announced, I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like, why isn't Aya and Sayaka on the same team? Because they teamed the day before. They're part of Cosmic Angels. They're a tag team we know that we're going to be seeing quite a lot of in the next few years in Stardom, and I'm all for it. And then there was just like, when the match started, they're like, no, we're going to start off against each other. It's like, oh, they got great chemistry as opponents. A lot of this builds down to Aya and Ron Yagami with the striking, which, again, I'm a huge fan of. Really great striking exchanges, but ultimately, though, it's Hanako that does pick up the win with the JP coaster. Again, solid opener, 10 minutes, enough time to tell their story. All four of these wrestlers combined have 4.5 years experience, something like that. So, and it's nice to see them getting this spotlight in front of 3,000 people. And the fact that they gave this away for free on YouTube, and it was the lead in to Karate Brave versus Suriano and Tam Nakano. So, and that was free on YouTube as well. It's a great spotlight for all four of these ladies that we know they're going to flourish in their wrestling career over the next few years. 3.5 stars for me, partner. This was a solid way to start off the show.
Yeah, and it was also a really good preview for the Cup High Mate and the Inaba and Yagami square off that we've had now on November 20th in Tohaku during the Tag League, which is what they alluded to at the end when Hanako and Rani Yagami feuded. It's exactly what you want from an opener. It showcases all four women. It was in and out without any sort of issues whatsoever. Every woman had that chance to shine. Again, Aya Sakura, I'm really excited for what the future holds for Aya Sakura. I really am. But I gave it 3 stars. Thought it was a really good opener. That fed straight into, of course, Cosmic Angels versus Karate Brave. Now, Matt, obviously Tam gets the win here with that violet screwdriver on Tomoka Inaba. And what I did like is the fact that Chris and Walker in particular were not familiar with Tomoka Inaba. And I imagine that was the same for quite a few people in the crowd. And by the end, they would certainly have been familiar with her because she was great in this. We got flashes of Tam and Syuri, but I imagine that Tam added some extra stank on that violet screwdriver because Tomoka Inaba kicked the face off Tam with a drop kick. I don't know if you've seen it, Matt. There is a GIF currently going round on social media of a slowed down Inaba drop kick, and oh my God, she gets all of it. And it is smack dab in Tam's face, like full on bang, straight into the face. So I imagine that Tam was looking for a little bit of revenge on Inaba, but this was a tremendous opener.
So there's a GIF of Tomoka kicking Tam in the face and looks really violent. Is that what you're trying to say?
That is what I'm trying to say, yes.
Rob Goodwin, I just heard my wife coming downstairs, and as you know, my wife's a great cook. And by the time we get done with this podcast, it's going to be right around dinner time. So you're telling me if I show this said gift to my wife, I might get anything I want for dinner? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because I think I'm in a pasta mood. So I think that's it. So what do I do? I type in Tam kicked in the face on Twitter, and that's what probably it'll pop up?
I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. And I will let you know what I had for dinner. Thank you, Mike. Technically, you bought me dinner tonight, and you didn't even know it.
More than welcome, my friend. More than welcome.
Besides that, yeah, this match was great. It starts off with Tam and Syuri, and they've been teasing that we're going to Tam and Syuri somewhere in the future. Obviously, we know the next program is Tam and Saya Kamitani because that's what's been pitched. I know there's no match graphic yet. That's what's been selling tickets for Dream Kingdom coming up here in just about 5-6 weeks' time. So we start there, and they have a really good exchange. Then Tomoka comes in there and was just like, oh, just you wait, Tam Nakano. Just you wait. And Tomoka is just like not holding back at all in any of these strikes. Tam fights back, but eventually Suriano comes in. She cleans house. She has that big missile dropkick. She's just she's just so explosive in her movements, so smooth, so technical. Sherry gets in there. She tries to stop Soriano. Soriano does let Sherry kick her a few times, only to do that great dragon screw leg whip. I mean, great stuff there. We do another face off with Sherry and Soriano, some really good form exchanges that I was like, oh, Soriano, you're terrific, but do you really want to be standing there toe to toe with Sherry on forearms? And she almost got the better of Sherry. So I was like, oh, how about that? How about that? And again, Sherry's such a great seller for how much of a badass she is. She's a great seller putting over certain wrestlers when it comes to certain striking, because that's like her game. But she makes Soriano look better than she already does in the striking. So kudos to Sherry. Excellent stuff there. We get some German suplex exchanges, which I'm always a fan of. Tomoka comes in there and was just like, I haven't kicked Tam's ass in 3 minutes. Let me go kick her ass some more. Kicks, those brutal knee strikes to the head of our World of Stardom champion. I thought was great. She hits the Inaba drop for a 2 count. And the only reason why it's a 2 count is Soriano breaks up the fall. Again, I like that story where we're not kicking out of big finishers and tag matches. The other person has to come in and break it up. So you're putting the other person over strong. Ultimately, though, it's just a great tag team work from the Cosmic Angels team that break down Tomoka Inaba, that take out Sherry, and then it's the violent screwdriver in the middle of the ring for the 3 count. I had this at 4.25 stars. My only nitpick with this match was a couple matches went like a minute or 2 long. We could have given it to this match. 11 minutes. I thought this went like 15, 16, maybe take a minute or 2 off the hardcore match, or a minute or 2 off the Tekla tag match, and giving it to this, because this was great, and I would love to see this go 14, 15 minutes. But ultimately, we knew we were going to get a great match, Rob, and guess what? We got a great match. Terrific stuff, and I'm really looking forward to that gift that you're going to send me, my friend.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty. Yeah, we wanted something to really start this pay-per-view off with a bang, excluding the free YouTube match that we've already talked about. And this was immediately, when we did our preview last week, this was highlighted as the match that we were both looking forward to starting the show off. And you've got Inaba kicking the hell out of both Nakano and Soriano, and you've got Syuri delivering those strikes. You've got a Tam and Syuri feud just bubbling under the surface. And then you've got Soriano, who you just seem to plug into any situation, and she is just immediately in touch with it. She's such a great utility player for Stardom to have on their roster. If you were to tell me that Soriano is the next red belt challenger after Saya Kamitani, I'd be fine with it. If you were to tell me Soriano is the next white belt challenger, yeah, absolutely fine. Next Goddess of Stardom champion, yeah, absolutely fine. She fits every single mold, and fair play to her. We speak a lot about Syuri and how good she is. We've waxed lyrical about Tomoka Inaba and how we physically need Stardom to sign her. Matt has spoken about how much he loves Tam. I think she's just okay. And Syuri, just want to see your face. But Soriano is potentially someone we don't necessarily give the same amount of praise to, because she's just so good all the time, so consistent. And I hope that when we do our Stardom Cast Awards, I've got a feeling that Mayu Iwatani could be running away with Wrestler of the Year, especially after these last couple of IWGP Women's Championship defenses, and especially considering she's had a year like very few others. Soriano, I hope, gets those votes in the Wrestler of the Year category, because she has been so unerringly consistent, has been such a person that you can tap on the shoulder and say, I need you to go in there. And she does a phenomenal job. And for me, she is in the same mold in that way as Jungle Kiona or as Hazuki, where you can just tap them on the shoulder saying, right, I need you in a main event spot. Boom, I'm there. I'm done. I'm great. And yeah, credit where credit's due. I just wanted to give Soriano some flowers there, because I feel like, we were very excited about this match, and I just wanted to say how good Soriano is. Moving on to the 6-woman Neo Genesis and Hate. This was really good, but it was very obvious it was one thing and one thing only, and that was a showcase for Neo Genesis. And I am absolutely fine with that, because it worked really well, especially when you have got Azumi and Meisera on one team, and they are just blitzing through a team at the pace that they were, Matt.
Yeah, it starts off again a simple story to tell where the heels jump the baby faces, and then we build heat on Miyu Amasaki, which is a lot that we've been seeing since the debut of Neo Genesis. Is that Miyu's the one taking the heat, and I think a lot of that has to do with like let's get Miyu Amasaki, let's have her building up sympathy, let's work on her selling. No better way to work on selling than live in the ring. Then when she's tagging out to the Izumis, the Mei Saras, the Starlight Kid, the Suzuki's. You're more explosive wrestlers. So simple psychology to tell. Once she tags out, we see the explosiveness of May and Azumi. We see a little bit more, Rob. And again, maybe I'm grasping at straws. We've seen a little bit more of May and Rena. And I'm hoping that's where they're going for the next high speed championship. I'm hoping that is either, at New Year's Dream, or I'm hoping that it is at it is at Dream Queendom coming up in Sumo Hall, because that's where it seems to be going. And then Hate does a good job kind of shutting May down. And really where we see the Neo Genesis team really get their first advantage of the match and then basically just run away with it is the O2 line teamwork. They're the only team in this match that's a consistent tag team. Obviously, again, we're in the middle of the Goth Stardom tournament. So I like that. It's just like, okay, we think that May's going to start picking it up. She gets cut off. Then O2 line comes in and they clean house. And then ultimately it's the Tensai and the double stomp combination from O2 line that picks up the win. Not only was this a highlight for Neo Genesis, it was a real big highlight for Azumi, because I think we all figured out that after the challenge, whether it was Momo or Mayu, because we really weren't sure where it was going to go. I think it was like 60% of the people thought it was Mayu and 40 thought it was going to be Momo. It wasn't a clear-cut advantage. We all knew Azumi was going to be the next challenger because she defeated Mayu and Momo in the 5-star Grand Prix, and she kept, again, we mentioned it before, everybody just kept cutting her in line. So it's just like, you're going to do that challenge after the semi-main event. You're going to do it at Historic Crossover. Why not have Azumi get the win here and make her look good? Not that she needs any help looking good because she's Azumi, but great story to tell. Simple psychology. The crowd was into it. I had this at 4 stars. I absolutely loved it.
3.5 stars from me. Thought everyone here did their jobs perfectly. Ruaka, Konami were perfect as heat, sort of just getting that heat down on Miyu Amasaki. Hate, by the way, so stupidly over in Osaka. Osaka loved them some Hate. They were over. Obviously, Saya Kamitani and Natsukatora in the next match were really over as well. Apparently, who knew that all it took was a name change and Oedetai would finally be over? But there we are, moving on swiftly. The one and only New Japan All-In match. Matt, obviously, we're not going to talk a lot about this because it's not to do with Stardom, but I thought this did what it needed to. There was a great spot with Callum Newman trying to do an assisted moonsault with Jeff Cobb and just not being able to because he's not strong enough. Jeff Cobb then doing it on his own, showing off that freakish athleticism that he's got. I thought Tiger Mask and Francesco Akira did some really good stuff together. Toru Yano is Toru Yano, and it looks like we could be working towards a Jeff Cobb and Bolton Oleg program, which I certainly wouldn't be against.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of the what they're building to in this match. Obviously, you're going to put the United Empire over. Obviously, Yano and Tiger Mask, they do what they needed to do, but they're kind of, again, getting up there in age. So you want to put the younger team that is over. And it's always great seeing Jeff Cobb get a big win. But that was that, my friend. And, again, everybody worked hard. It was a solid enough match. And yeah, I agree with you. I think they're building up to a Bolton versus Jeff Cobb match or program somewhere leading into 2025, which I'm all for.
Moving on then to our first mixed tag of the evening. Tanahashi and Taguchi and Wingori against the Hate Dogs, or the War Hate. Sai Kamitani, Tora, Drill Maloney, and Gabe Kidd, anyway.
Good effort, buddy. Good effort.
Thank you very much. I am a big fan of the fact that they made a big point of only men can attack men and only women can attack women. Matt Turner, that lasted for about 12 seconds before that rule went completely out of the window. And yeah, you could argue that Gabe Kidd and Drilla Maloney were incredibly dismissive of Hanan and Sayurida. However, Sayurida especially was able to chop her way through that defiance, especially in Drilla Maloney, who was very defiantly like, chops done it, come on, chop me. And the more she did, Drilla Maloney's like, oh, ow, ow, and then eventually sells it really well. Gabe Kidd sells a lot of the Wingori offense towards the end as well, but this was always about Gabe Kidd, about Saya Kamitani, and about Natsuko Tora as well, because post-match, Natsuko Tora lays out an outrageous challenge. Apparently, we are heading for a Hiroshi Tanahashi and Natsuko Tora singles program. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to clip that, because I never in a billion years thought I would say that out loud. A Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace, the 1 in 100, the multiple-time IWGP World Champion, and Natsuko Tora in a singles program. Sure. Why not?
You have the title of your next book. I don't even care what it's about. It's going to be called Natsuko Tora versus Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but the Tora gave Tanahashi the mist. Again, the men putting the ladies over. Hiroshi Tanahashi, with the exception of Antonio Inoki, probably the most respected wrestler in this company that's been running for 50 years. And he's putting Natsuko Tora over every step of the way. You're absolutely right. Ida and Gabe Kidd and Driller Maloney, they didn't sell just yet for Wingori. Built. Like you said, with the chops and the teamwork. Once they got there, you got there because you're like, oh, come on. Oh, boom. Again, it's something so small that Gabe Kidd and Driller Maloney get. It's the psychology. This match starts out with some comedy. Saya Kamitani, I guess, is a snake charmer we didn't know about, because Taguchi just falls in love with Saya Kamitani right from the outset, and Tanahashi has to kind of snap him out of it. We see a low blow. We get big brawling all over the place. Taguchi sells getting tossed into chairs from Kamitani.
That might be my favorite moment of this entire match. Taguchi hitting the chairs and just freezing.
Yeah, great stuff. But
Tremendous.
You're right. You're getting a lot different eyes on this show. You're getting Stardom fans watching New Japan that might not watch it. You're getting New Japan fans watching Stardom that might not watch it. You're getting wrestling fans that are tuning in because this is something different. And in independent wrestling, especially in the United States, intergender matches are very popular. So you're probably getting that as well. So what do you need to highlight in this match? What do you have going on? We know Saya Kamitani has a big match coming up on the 29th in Sumo Hall with Tam Nakano. Gabe Kidd is wrestling Kenny Omega in one of Kenny Omega's return matches coming up at Wrestle Dynasty on the 5th of January. So ultimately, this is a great match. You have your comedy, you have your brawling. Again, you have the men putting the girls over. You get the girls, especially Han and Saida, getting sympathy with Gabe Kidd and Driller Maloney, looking like they're going to absolutely crush them. But at the end, it's really Gabe Kidd and Saya Kamitani getting over in this match. Saya Kamitani hits the usual picture-perfect springboard plancha where she looks like she just freezes in air. We've seen it 100 times. I never get sick of it. I mean, she's just so talented in every which way, but ultimately it's Gabe Kidd getting the win. Again, fun match that had a little bit of everything. And again, kudos to all the men here putting over the females, especially Tanahashi putting over Natsuko Tora, because maybe that's what are we doing with Tora at Dream Queendom? You know, we fantasy booked that card enough last week. Let's keep going. Tanahashi versus Tora at Dream Queendom. You know, go Ace. I'm all for it, Rob. You planted the seeds. Is Hiroshi Tanahashi doing anything on the 29th? No, let him work Tora. I'm all for it. I have this match at 3 3/4 stars, partner.
Yeah, I did 3 3/4 stars as well. It was a very, very good match. It was clearly the desire to get Saya Kamitani and Gabe Kidd over. Not that either person needed it, because Saya Kamitani was incredibly over already. Gabe Kidd, you know, obviously incredibly brash in the way that's his gimmick and whatever, but he's an incredibly talented wrestler and has got an incredible amount of height in that glass ceiling. He's going to be a big, big star in New Japan moving forward. I thought the partnership between the War Dogs and Hate worked really well in this match, and it was possibly the most prevalent in this match. I think it worked better here than it did between Clark Connors and Tekla, ironically. But yeah, it did what it needed to do. And again, coming out of this, you are talking about Natsuko Tora and Hiroshi Tanahashi, which is not a sentence I thought I'd ever say out loud. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Matt attempting to put a positive spin on that spot. But before we get to that, before we talk about the negative, which I know it is a negative, I wish it hadn't happened, okay? It didn't need to happen. The rest of this match was really, really good. Suzu Suzuki having to work hard to earn the respect of the Great Okan, and the Great Okan eventually having to resort to the hardcore rules he didn't want in the first place to beat Suzu was great. Great Okan trying to out wrestle Suzu Suzuki. Suzu Suzuki just immediately going back to that hardcore style, stapling herself in the face with a staple gun to really showcase just how serious, just how mental she really is. And you can see that shift in the Great Okan as though to go, oh dear, I've done messed up here. And yeah, there was some great moments. We saw chair shots. We saw forks in the mouth. We saw a tequila shot on chairs. Of course, we saw Suzu staple the Great Okan question mark to her own face and then to the Great Okan's face as well. We saw people going through ladders, through bins, through a polystyrene board fixed with forks as well, which was a little bit odd, but fine. And that was all really good. And I feel like the story of Great Okan having to come out of his comfort zone to actually beat Suzu Suzuki was a really good point. And again, Suzu Suzuki got massively, massively over. And even from the start of the match to the end of the match, the difference in crowd support for Suzu was incredible. Crowd thoroughly behind her. I just hope this match is not going to be remembered for that one spot. Because unfortunately, the way wrestling fans are now, and rightly so, because it was a spot that didn't need to happen. I just hope that for the wrestler's sake, for Suzu's sake, it's not solely known for that moment, because I thought the rest of the match worked really, really well. I gave it 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just hope it's not blighted, Matt.
Again, I'm not defending this spot, but I'm going to put the positive spin on it. Again, coming from a psychology, from looking at it from pro wrestling psychology, I'm going to break it down a little. So obviously the spot is Great Okan putting his, how can I PG this, thumb in Suzu's bum? Would that be the as PG as I can go? Okay.
Yeah, about.
Okay. But then what's the comeuppings? Pretty much right after that, Suzu takes the staple gun to Great Okan's crotch.
That is true.
That spot doesn't get over to that degree without what Great Okan did prior. So again, I'm not defending it, but again, it happened. Let's look at the positives. And Suzu was massively over. She was getting over in that match. Once that started happening, she started getting over more. So does that spot and Suzu get over if that spot doesn't happen? I don't know, because we don't know, because it happened. So now you're kind of like, you're watching that, and I'm sure me and you watching like, oh, why did they do that? Why did they? And it's Suzu Suzuki, folks. It's not Mayu Hamasaki. It's not Waka. It's Suzu Suzuki. Eventually something bad's going to happen. And it happened almost right away. She's like, oh, really? Why would they do that? That's terrible. And then Suzu's like, oh, yeah, you want to play that game? Staple gun, boom, 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 to the crotch a whole bunch of times. Great Okan sells it. I don't know if he sold it or if it just, if anybody got stapled in the crotch, we'd be in pain too. But again, I don't know if that gets over and Suzu gets over had that spot not happen. Again, I'm not defending it, but looking at the positive aspect, that's the way I'm going. That's all I'm going to say about that. I agree, partner. This was a great match. It wasn't a death match. It was a hardcore match where Suzu had to go absolutely crazy. She's the crazy girl on Great Okan, because they start trading forearms in the beginning, and Suzu's not getting the advantage. And she's like, okay, well, hardcore rules. This is my world. Let's go. And they do the fork spot, the drive-by spot with all the forks in the mouth. And they do the Suzu he gets the staple gun. I'm like, okay, she's going to staple Great Okan. I've seen this spot before, but she does it first. And the way Great Okan sells it, he's like, what have I gotten myself into? I've been in the ring with the Ospreys, the Tanahashis, the Okadas, the Ishiis, the Shibata, no, not Shibata, but what have I got? I've never seen anything like this before. What have I gotten myself into? And it's just big move after big. The tequila shot on the chairs, the fork board spot. It's an absolute, just fantastic, hard-hitting match that, again, Suzu Suzuki got massively, massively over. This crowd fell in love with Suzu Suzuki at the end of this match. And this is the absolute perfect formula for having somebody lose but really winning. Even though she didn't take the 3 count, even though she didn't get the 3 count, even though she didn't get her hand raised, she came out of this match in front of 3,500 people, a bigger star than she went in. And there's going to be a lot more eyes on Suzu Suzuki, from here on out. Because a lot of people that really didn't know who Suzu was going to the match were like, damn, that girl's good. That girl's good. And we know, Rob Goodwin, Suzu Suzuki's fantastic. I had set 4.25 stars. I thought it was terrific. And I love the crowd reaction that Suzu got towards the end of that match.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave it 4 stars. I would argue that anyone getting stapled in the Great O'Carnicles is probably going to get a reaction. Again, like, I know you're trying to put the positive spin on it. For me, the spot doesn't need to happen. I think, there was enough there from Great O'Carn being a condescending moron for Suzu Suzuki's eventual comeback to garner support. But it's happened now, and you're absolutely right. I know you're only playing devil's advocate as the positivity. But yeah, it's happened now. The match itself was really good. Again, Suzu Suzuki got over so big with the Osaka crowd, and that was the point. I think Great O'Khan did a really, really good job of putting over just how crazy Suzu Suzuki truly is. That still of him going, as Suzu staples that piece of paper to her face, love it. Absolutely love it. Moving on then we talked about a divisive spot, okay? This might be a divisive match. Taichi and Natsupoi against Tekla and Clark Connors. Now, quite controversially, perhaps, I didn't like this match. I thought we got to the moment where Natsupoi is literally kicking the face off Clark Connors, and that's a perfectly done spot. I love that. The rest of the match I can take or leave. And I don't know whether it's just because I found the Tekla and Clark Connors heat quite boring.
Too long.
It
was too long.
Too long.
It was too long, and this is a long show, especially for the Stardom fans. This show was like 4.5 hours, and it was again, you could have shaved 3 or 4 minutes off this match
easily
and given it to Tomoka and Shiri versus Sayori and Tam. But the one question for you, Rob, do you think this was a missed opportunity? Obviously, we know Taichi sings live when he comes. Do you think that he could have sang either Flowing or Double Frontier or Tear Tales? Like, obviously Tam was, she already had her match. So what if we just had, Meltier featuring Taichi? I think that was a missed opportunity. I'm more upset with that than I am with the super, super long heat. But as far as this match goes, the stuff with Taichi and Clark Connors, once they got going, I thought they had really good chemistry. Very much like Natsupoi and Tekla when they had their Wonder of Stardom Championship match. I just think there's something between the two of them. In a promo aspect, it works. Like, remember that F-bomb going back and forth at that one press conference? In certain tag matches, it works. But for some reason, it just seems like their chemistry is just a little bit off. Again, maybe it's just too long. Maybe that's what it's obviously. Tekla's great. Natsupoi, we absolute love. But again, this is one of the most satisfying finishes we have seen in a match this year because the way this was built. It was built with a spear on Clark Connors and Natsupoi a few months ago in Korakuen Hall. You go back to Korakuen Hall just the week prior, he goes to spear Natsupoi, and all the members of Stardom come in and stop him. So you're building that up again. And then there's three things here with the spear. There's the one that he accidentally hits Tekla with, and there's the one that he hits Natsupoi with. So now he's going for the third spear. It's like, okay, we've already seen this. It's left. And as he's gearing up for it, the camera does a great job not showing Natsupoi at all. It's like, there's only one way to go. And that's for Tekla to hit the super kick or that spin kick onto Clark Connors. Now, Clark Connors easily could have said, have Taichi pull Natsupoi out and because Taichi throws really good kicks, and have Taichi kick me. And that's a good way to get Clark Connors out. He could have said that, but he's like, no, the whole story going into, and we didn't even realize this until it happened because we thought it's all about Natsupoi and Tekla. It's all about Natsupoi getting her revenge on Clark Connors. And boy, howdy does she get it. Because she hits not only the super kick, she hits all those spin kicks. Eventually, Taichi does take Clark Connors out, but it's a formality because Natsupoi, the murder pixie, just took out the guy that's in the big heel faction in New Japan with all those kicks. And the way he sold them was like, oh, geez. And then, we build, and we just go right to the finish with Natsupoi hitting the Pharaoh gift, which she wasn't able to hit earlier. A little bit too long of a match, but what a satisfying finish. Again, all the credit in the world goes to Clark Connors for not only taking those kicks to Natsupoi, the way he sold them was like he was hit with death. And it makes me want to see even more. The match that Andy Heder said he didn't want to see is that cage match with Natsupoi and Clark Connors. However, this was a fitting end to this Natsupoi and Tekla feud that didn't miss, but it didn't hit for me. And I think they even said in commentary, like, this story's over. This story's over, and we're moving on to other things. I'm halfway through the show that just dropped today, and we're on to the thing that we wanted and that we're getting to partner. There's no doubt about it. There's
I know
no doubt about it. Yeah, it's Starlight Kid. They're definitely doing Starlight Kid and Natsupoi. More than likely, it's going to happen at Dream Queendom. Yes, please. But again, everybody played their role right. A little bit too long. But Natsupoi finally getting her revenge on Clark Connors because it was built up that way. So I like the story there, but very much like Natsupoi and Tekla for the Wonder. And this match, a little bit too long. It kind of overstayed its welcome, but we got a hot finish. And a lot of credit has to go to Tekla and Clark Connors for getting Taichi and Natsupoi over. Again, I think Taichi should have sang Double Frontier. That's just me. But 3.5 stars for me. I actually had it 3 3/4 stars. I actually bumped it up a quarter of a star because of the ending.
Yeah, I gave it 3 1/4. Again, just that heat section I found like the journey wasn't that enjoyable. The finish was great. The destination was great, was done perfectly to a T. Just the heat section I wasn't interested in.
You know what this was, Rob? And this will be my last point on this. This was an okay movie that had a great ending.
Yes.
You're sitting in the movie theater, and it's like, it's a movie that's a little over 2 hours long, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, they had some good points. All right, just get to it. And then you get that last 3 or 4 minutes of the movie, like, oh. And then it's like, how was the movie? The ending. That's what this was an okay match that had a fantastic ending. Satisfying ending.
Absolutely. Tell us in the comments what film this match is. Moving on then to Mayu Iwatani versus Momo Watanabe. It was all right. No, it was tremendous to the surprise of absolutely no one. But before we get into that, Matt, of course, we are celebrating Momo Watanabe's 10th anniversary of wrestling. I believe the day before this show, the 16th of November. In terms of her, this is her 751st match in Stardom, making her the second most tenured in Stardom history, behind
Fukigen Death.
Mayu Iwatani.
Oh.
Well, yeah, of course, Fukigen Death. She cheats.
How did you miss that?
I know. Slow in my old age. Mayu Iwatani, obviously. 928 matches in Stardom for Mayu. In total, her record, Momo Watanabe's 374 wins, 329 losses, 47 draws, and has exactly 50% win percentage when it comes to title matches, winning 34 of her 68 matches. We were celebrating that. We were celebrating the forever feud that is Mayu Iwatani and Momo Watanabe. 6-4-1. Make of that what you will. Mayu having the edge over Momo Watanabe. Momo Watanabe saying she wants to surpass the icon of Stardom. Finally, she comes out, brand new gear, stark white gear. Immediately, it is so different to the so used to Momo Watanabe wearing. It's more akin to that Queen's Quest Momo Watanabe we haven't seen since the end of 2021. She has the opportunity, Matt, to win the match. And we all know how. She gets that baseball bat, and we know that she's going to clobber Mayu around the face with it. And she opts against it. Because if she surpasses Mayu by hitting her with a bat, can she really say that she's better than Mayu? And you can see that conflict inside of Momo as she She launches this baseball bat out of the ring. I think it hits a cameraman because it proper bangs into something. I think it's a cameraman. So someone took a baseball shot unintentionally. But that build in itself is great. And that aside, these two have flawless chemistry. We've talked about it being underrated before in terms of feuds and stardom. I don't think we can say it's underrated anymore because they just are damn good together. They don't miss. I mean, this was such a brutal, ugly affair in the best possible way. Just two women looking to kick the resilience out of the other. Mayu Iwatani almost at points playing a heel to Momo Watanabe, who is so over with the Japanese crowd. You know, obviously that changes as the match goes on, and Mayu shows this ungodly amount of resilience that she's able to do, kicking out of the Peach Thunder, the first person to ever kick out of the Peach Thunder. You've then got the furore around the Fubuki Rana and how that has finished Momo off in two different matches, but that doesn't quite get the match finished off. The desperation in Momo's face throughout this match shows how much it means to her. And because she shows how much it means to her, she immediately becomes more endearing to the crowd. And that sort of interesting tug of war inside Momo Watanabe makes this match even more compelling. It is an absolutely fantastic match. And when we're putting it in the same breath as the Syuri match, the Sari match, you know how good it is. And I'm going to go one step further. I think this is better than the Sari match. I gave the Sari match 5 stars. I gave this 5 stars. Mayu Iwatani is on a different level at the moment. She is untouchable. But Momo Watanabe, oh my God, when she is on, good grief. I mean, what else can you say, Matt? Tremendous. And that's 2 shows, 2 historic crossover shows now when Mayu Iwatani has stolen the show. Damn right she deserves a Wrestle Kingdom match.
Rob, you just said, what else can you say? We're going to talk a lot because I couldn't text you as much as I wanted to because I was away, but I'm glad I didn't because I'm like, let's just save this for the podcast. At first, I'm going to pop you because this is funny. You didn't see this match, I believe, until Tuesday, right? I think it was Tuesday.
I didn't see it until Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, I watched it live when it happened. I think I texted you later on Sunday that you need to watch it. Then I text you on Monday. You're like, yeah, it's literally going to be my first thing on Tuesday. Obviously, I was in meetings all day on Tuesday in a room with over 1,000 people, sitting next to my best friend Jeff, who you met at WrestleMania. And I had my phone out, and we're in this dark room because they have all these speakers. And I'm kind of just paying attention to what they're saying, and all of a sudden he bumped me. He's like, "Hey, is your buddy Rob okay?" I said, "Well, yeah. What do you mean?" He goes, "He just texts you 4 or 5 times with a whole bunch of obscenities." I looked down at my phone, I pressed the thing, and I started to smile. And he goes, "He just watched a really good Stardom match." I go, "He might have watched the match. He might have watched the match." I said, I'll show it to you. But he goes, "You don't need to know who these two are to know this is a great match, but they have a history." So I wanted to pop you there for it because it was like,
that's amazing. Love that.
That's my buddy Jeff. He's worrying about you, buddy. I want to make sure you're okay. I was like, "Oh, he's better than okay."
Big up, Jeff. Big up, Jeff.
He's better than okay. We're over here listening to something. I'd rather be watching this match.
Good grief.
But I actually watched this match. It's maybe about an hour before we recorded again, because I watched it obviously live with the English commentary. And again, Chris and Walker, they did a great job. Xena and Tom as well did a great job. And I want to watch it with the Japanese commentary. And yeah, it's a lot to unfold. There's a lot to unfold, a lot to talk about. And the we talk about the greatest feuds and rivalries in Stardom history. Our go-tos are always Mayu versus Io, Tam versus Julia, Syuri versus Utami. If you told me this is number 1, I'm not going to disagree with it because it's got the more matches. It's got the longer rivalry. Again, for what happened in 2020 with COVID, and then Hana passing away, and then Kagetsu retiring, and then Arisa Hoshinki retiring. These two held this company up. It was on the back of these two holding the company up. this was just such a great match in so many different levels. You mentioned the baseball spot. I noticed, again, when I just watched it a little bit ago, a couple things. She throws the baseball bat, but that kick she hits with Mayu right afterwards, Rob, I don't know. I might want to take him the baseball bat shots.
Good. There was 2 or 3 from both of them that were like, oh, like that's some serious damage, surely.
That tree of woe kick to the head. Because
My
when
God.
she kicked her and she set her up, and I started writing down my notes, and I hear it sound like a gunshot went off. It was like 5, because I think I even tweeted out. It was 20 after 5. I literally stood up in my living room, gave these 2 a standing ovation as I had goosebumps. That's how great this match was. So there was another spot. So Mayu hits the moonsault. 1, 2, ref gets pulled. Now we see the ref getting pulled all the time. Technically, you can't call it disqualification because you didn't see it. But at the same time, the person that pulled the ref is right there. Is like right there. I didn't notice this until I watched this just a little bit ago. The ref gets pulled from Rina. As soon as Rina pulls the ref, Rina runs like 20 feet away. So the next shot you see is Hanan attending to Daichi. And it's just like, oh, that's really nice, because it's just like, there's some cheating going on, but I want to make sure the ref's okay. So I thought that was really nice. And Rina, being only 17 years old, knew pull the ref and get out of the way. Get rid of the smoking gun. Hanan's tending to the referee. Rina comes over and kicks Hanan in the head, which I find really funny because they're sisters. So Rina does the dastardly deed. Hanan's trying to clean up the mess, and then Rina's trying to make a bigger mess. I just thought that little aspect that had nothing to do with Mayu and Momo, I thought that was really, really cool. I give Daichi, I talk how great of a referee Daichi is all the time because of on these last second counts, the way he checks on wrestlers on dangerous spots. In Stardom, we do see a lot of dangerous spots. It's really second to none. Mayu hits that Snapdragon on the apron. And again, credit to the English commentary team because they sold it like, oh my goodness. Because I think it was either Mayu or Momo's shoulder hits the rope on the way for the Dragon Suplex. And the Dragon Suplex, folks, when you're taking a move like that, all you're doing is giving a little bit of jump and you're tucking your chin. It's up to your person giving the move to protect said person. Because there's either Momo or Mayu's arm or Momo's shoulder hit the top rope, Mayu couldn't protect Momo the way she wanted. Mayu goes to one side, Momo goes to the other side. Daichi comes right down, checks on Momo. Momo's okay. Daichi gets back in the ring. They go and look, they put the camera on Mayu. Mayu's got a busted mouth and her cheeks cut up a little. And she's selling it too, right? Because I think she took the B driver on the floor right before. They go over to Momo and you just see a couple puddles of liquid right by where Momo's head is. And for 5 seconds, I thought that was blood from Momo's head. And I was like, oh my God. And then I realized Rina poured water on Momo, and that's what it was. And it added to the danger of this match for me. They roll back in the ring, barely breaking the count. And again, close up on Mayu, mouth busted, sweat, blood on the cheek. And they focus on Mayu doing this, shaking her hand as if there's nerve damage done to her neck. I was like, the selling on Mayu Iwatani somehow just got better. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. Again, the match is building up. You get to the point where Momo can use the bat. And Chris Charlton does a great job saying Momo's going to win the IWGP Championship. There's going to be a damn asterisk at it. And she gets rid of the bat. And you get a huge pop. And now you're like, are we turning her back babyface? Are we turning her back babyface? It's 2025. Are we bringing back QQ? I don't know. I'm here for it. I'm off. Can't wait. I'm excited. I don't know. Great. And then you get this blitzing finish between these two. The reverse Ron. Not only she hits the reverse Ron, but Mayu knows she's not done. She's not done because Momo has a little bit of fight. It's a super stiff kick. And the first time I watched it, the only small criticism I had is Mayu didn't hook the leg. Went back and watched it again. Even a better pin. Because she puts her entire body weight and puts her knee on Momo's head. Momo somehow kicks out. And I was like, that was the only nitpick I had about this match. And I went back and watched it. I'm like, oh, I like that better. I like that better on a second watch. And then you just get bombed. And I don't know the way this is going to go. I'm like, maybe Momo is going to win the belt because she's kicking out of all Mayu's stuff. She hits the tequila sunrise, the peach sunrise, finally hits the peach thunder. And the way that Mayu sold it, I was like, this is the finish. Mayu kicks out 2.999. and Momo's going over to Daichi like, no, and the crowd is ramping up. It's almost like babyface versus babyface. The crowd is like, this is 2021, the leader of Queen's Quest versus the leader of Stars, the two best wrestlers in the company, both big baby faces. The crowd is amped up. Momo goes to throw a kick. Mayu ducks it, hits a desperation two-step dragon, gets the win. 5 stars. One of the best matches I've seen all year. Rob Goodwin, I got a bunch of questions for you, and there's no wrong answers to what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Is this the best match in historic crossover history? And what I mean by that is this better than, okay, I agree. Here's a tough one, because again, on the airplane, I downloaded a whole bunch of Mayu's matches. I watched Mayu and Momo on this. I watched this Sunday. Monday, I watched Mayu and Momo 9th anniversary match. Is this the best Mayu versus Momo match? Tough one, because even the 2021 5 stars up there as well. But I know me and you lean towards that red belt match in Cork and Hall.
Oh, I'm going to say yes, but only because this has got the benefit of additional history.
And this is
that's the only reason.
And we watched this one live. You didn't see the 9th anniversary live, did you?
No,
oh, you didn't watch
it
this live
live
either. You watched it 2 days later. But anywho, you know where I'm going. Is this Momo Watanabe's best performance? And I know we go to the 2021 Shuri match.
Yeah.
I know we go to the 2 big Mayu matches, again, from the first night of the 2021 5-star and the 9th anniversary show. And, however, I'm going to give you time to think about this, because I'm going to give you an easy one after I gave you a hard one. Since the heel turn 3 years ago, is this Momo's best performance?
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't even think that's close.
And she's had some really good ones. And she's had some really good ones. Yeah.
Against Mayu in this year's 5-star Grand Prix, for example. Yeah. Oh, is it better than the 9th?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Maybe we'll put a pin in that and talk about it later.
Yeah. I think probably yeah. Let's give it some time.
Where were we ranking these two as far as rivalry goes? And start. I mentioned those top 3, and I think me and you, we lean towards Io and Mayu, but they really only had 4 or 5 matches. The trilogy, they had a time limit draw at 2018 Cinderella tournament that Momo wound up winning, and I believe they had a 5-star match where the Mayu and Momo had the catalog is more. The catalog is more. Tam and Julia, that is more box because the fact they main evented Budokan Hall, because the fact that they main evented Yokohama Arena. So that's got a lot of fanfare. But I think we need to start putting this one in the 1 or 2 category. I think that we need, even Shuri and Utami, great matches. What they did for business in 2021 put Stardom on a whole nother level. I think we need to sink this one up there in 1 or 2. And they're not done. We heard Momo's promo afterwards. Like, I've been wrestling 10 years. I'll do this another 10 years with you. Because Tam and Julia, it might be done. Shuri and Utami might be done. Io and Mayu might be done. Again, obviously rumors for next year. Another story for another day. These 2, I think we still got more in the tank. And again, we talk about the greatest rivalry feuds in Japanese wrestling history are all matches that have had 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times. Misawa, Kobashi, Okada, Tanahashi, all that great stuff. But there's a lot of great stuff coming out of this match. We didn't even talk about Momo Watanabe's new gear. We didn't even talk about she looked like she was in phenomenal shape. There has been a lot of rumors, partner, that once Bushiroad took over Stardom, that they stopped pushing Momo Watanabe because they didn't like her look. And I don't want to talk about that because we're a positive podcast. Since the new Brash took over for Stardom, a lot of love for Momo Watanabe. She got a lot of big wins the first quarter of the year. She main evented All-Star Grand Queendom in a great match with Micah. She's crazy over in the United States. They gave her a match on AEW, I know it was the pre-show on Forbidden Door, and she wrestled Mercedes Moné. They want to break over into the US and the English-speaking market. Obviously, we know Mina Shirakawa is the one that's front in line because she on AEW TV quite a bit. Momo Watanabe's not far behind her. They definitely have big plans for Momo Watanabe. And I sent you this in a text message. and I'm going to say it live on this show. Stardom in 2025 can do the ultimate fan service. 2 things. Hazuki white belt, Momo Watanabe red belt. It's all right there. It's all right there for him. My way too early prediction, and I'm going to tag out my way too early prediction. Momo Watanabe's winning the 5-star next year.
Ooh. Well, we're doing a bonus roundtable at the end of the year, aren't we, about our predictions for 2025? And one of my predictions is that Momo Watanabe will be the red belt champion to close out 2025. And you look at her year this year and the heights that she's gotten to, hasn't held a singles belt since dropping the Wonder Belt back in 2019. She's had the heel turn. You could argue it's given her a fresh coat of paint. Is she ready for the red belt? Because me and you have said she's a great wrestler, phenomenal wrestler. Is she ready for the red belt? Does she have that star quality? Does she have that aura that, we said Utami, Julia, Mayu, Syuri even? Does she have that aura? And my answer before was always, I don't quite know. I don't think she's quite there. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm sold completely. I think from the match with Micah early this year, she's proved that she is ready. Every time she's been given the nod, and this is pre this year, but every time she's given the nod, she's another one that gives everything in the ring. But that's not necessarily everything when you want to be the face of a company at the top of the company. And I think Momo, over the last couple of months, has finally put those little pieces back together. And I think having this sort of mini feud with Mayu from the 5-star Grand Prix through to this match here has helped get her over the edge into becoming that star. She came out and just felt like this enormous star. And she's a goddamn heel. She is a cheating heel. But the work she did in this match was tremendous. It really, really was. I am all on board for Momo Watanabe being red belt champion. I mean, I'm always on board with Hazuki as white belt champion. Obviously, who with a pulse is not Team Hazuki for white belt?
Better not be you, Stardom booking committee. Come on now. Couple quick things, my man, because we can talk about this and Momo for days and days and days. When she wins that red belt, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
she does it as the baby face, right? I think she's where Starlight Kid was, and again, we were there in the and we would talk about it a little bit on this podcast and texting. Looks like Starlight Kid's almost at the point where they need just a hot angle to flip her. And then we were there at the Monster Factory. We looked at each other and like, she's a baby face. And then they literally, I think it was a couple weeks later.
It was Dream Queendom.
Yeah,
not Dream Queendom. It was Grand Queendom. It was literally 2 or 3 weeks later.
And they did it. I'm like, oh, there it is. That's all they need. And I love me some Starlight Kid. Don't get me wrong. Momo Watanabe is a better wrestler than Starlight Kid. But then again, she's better wrestler than 99% of the wrestlers that are out there. So I think when they pull that trigger, because they wouldn't have planted the seeds with the baseball bat and had Chris Charlton made such a big deal of it and have that camera angle. Because Momo could have hit Mayu with the baseball bat and then did the head kick and then gone for the pin, and then Mayu kicks out, and then you're getting more babyface sympathy behind Mayu and more heat on Momo. They took that away for a certain reason, Rob, and they did this in front of 3,500 people in a match that we're going to be talking about for a long, long time for a reason. You don't plant those seeds if you don't have big plans for Momo Watanabe. Again, she's crazy over in the United States. We were there at the ECW arena, that with the exception of Micah, she got the biggest reaction on that show. I was there at the USB arena in Newark, New York. Again, New York, very much like Long Island, New York, very much like Philadelphia. They're a very rabid fan base. Momo Watanabe on a pre-show match had a huge reaction as a heel. Over here in the United States. I think eventually, once the time's right, like they did with Starlight Kid, you pull the trigger, you turn her back babyface, whether she dons the Queen Quest flag again, another story for another day. But when she wins that red belt, I think it's going to mean more and draw more money as her as a babyface, because now we're finally going to get it. She turned the babyface. She's away from hate. She has this cool edge to her because she went away from Queen's Quest and went to Oedo Tai, now hate. So now she's got this cool edge to her. She's a cool heel that turns into a cool babyface. Those are always the best babyfaces, especially the last 25 years. Who are the biggest drawing babyface in the last 25 years? Austin, Rock. Because what were they? They were cool heels. Then they got turned by doing literally next to nothing. Even Roddy Piper in the 80s, the 90s was a really cool heel. Made a lot of money as a babyface by doing literally next to nothing. It was just that one little thing that got them to turn. Momo Watanabe is right there. Now, I'm not saying she's going to be drawing 70,000 people like The Rock. She's a way better wrestler than The Rock, Stone Cold, and Roddy Piper. I'll do respect RP, but anywho, I think she's there with it. Last question, buddy. I think you already answered it. Mayu has had 3 5-star must-see matches for the IWGP Championship. Shuri, Sari, and Momo. Are you ranking Momo this match as number 1? Because I think you just said you rate this higher than the Sari match.
Now, I will say that I will have to watch the Sari and the Shiori matches again, because obviously I haven't seen the Sari match since it happened. I haven't seen the Shiori match since it happened. The thing that this has on Shiori and Sari is the history and the story going through. Mayu and Sari was literally a dream match. We didn't think this was going to happen. 2 of the biggest Joshis collide. And that's all it needed to be a phenomenal match. Shiori, it was, you had a little bit of history there, but not quite as much as this. And then here, you have got these 2 forever rivals having their best blowout match in front of the biggest crowd these 2 have wrestled in front of together. And obviously, maybe it's recency bias, and I completely accept that. I would put it as top 2, definitely. I would need to watch them all again. Maybe my alternate commentary is Mayu and Sari. Who knows? It's just so that I can see it again. I know that I've witnessed something special with this match. And that's the thing I want to take from it. In regards to your question in regards to Momo turning back, just before we move on, because we have got another match to talk about, believe it or not. I'm not necessarily interested in seeing pure babyface Momo again.
I think it'd be edgy, like an edgy babyface.
I think if we're to see more of a tweener, even if we were to have Momo still as a heel, I think she could be so much more effective as a red belt champion than Natsuko Tora was.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have got that imperious champion who is so damn good in the ring, doesn't need to cheat. It's something different on the top of the card. Obviously, we didn't give the Natsuko Tora experiment any sort of time whatsoever to manifest. It was a very bizarre booking choice, looking back on it. That was mainly done, let's be perfectly honest, to get over the Saya Kamitani turn. But I think Momo could be that imperious person at the top on the top of stardom. And I don't necessarily think you have to turn a babyface to do that, or even turn her away from hate to do that. However, if you have the rest of Heat doing the cheating and Momo, the rest of Hate doing the cheating, and exactly, and Momo Watanabe being this destructive bull in the ring, then I think that's a really, really good, a really good system to have at the top of the card. But again, we'll see. I think a Momo Watanabe red belt run, I think they've always wondered about whether Momo could draw at the top of the card. I think she's proved over the last couple of months that she is able to take this company to new levels. And I think she deserves it as well. I know you've said that you don't exactly like the term deserved, but
she's earned it.
She has 100%. Her and Mayu, you said it before, have climbed with this company on their backs out of 2018, post Kairi, post Io Shirai. With the 2 icons of stardom, the 2 aces of stardom, the 2 appointed aces of stardom, I think Momo has earned that red belt shot. She's had to do a little bit of soul searching. She's had to do a little bit of growth and change, especially recently. But I think that she is finally at the point where you can go, do you know what? Yeah, we're pulling the trigger on Momo. Absolutely. And it would not surprise me if Momo takes that belt, heading into Dream Kingdom or even at Dream Queendom next year in 2025. It'll be a really interesting point to see where we go.
All for it, brother. All for it. Yeah, great stuff.
Absolutely.
Great chat, my man. And I guess without any further ado, this poor match that had to follow. That's not it.
That isn't it. Oh my God, I haven't put it on. Oh, that's bad from me. I've put on 2 of the Tekla one because I was doing it in a rush.
Yeah, we'll just zoom in on the Starlight Kid mask over there.
Absolutely. Starlight Kid, ZSJ, Micah, and El Desperado all in a ring together had the unfortunate position of trying to follow the aforementioned IWGP Women's Championship match. And I think they did a really, really, really good job. The chemistry between Despy and Starlight Kid is unquestionable. Like, we've seen it before. We've seen it in little skits when they've done stuff on YouTube together. We saw it when they were training together, coming back. I think they are phenomenal as a tag team. Great to see Despy in the ring. I've always been a huge, huge fan of Despy. So it's great to see him back in the ring, looking fit, wrestling like he's never been away. The interesting thing for me was always going to be the chemistry between ZSJ and Micah, because we've never really seen them together. Like, Micah and El Desperado have that connection because Despy helped train Micah. Okay. ZSJ and Despy have that chemistry because they were both in Suzuki-gun together. Despy and Starlight Kid, we've just said. The one outlier is ZSJ and Micah. And actually, I thought they worked really well as a team. Micah as that power and ZSJ as that technical bully that he works so well as.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing taken out of this match for me was Micah, this is the best year she's ever had. Starlight Kid, this is the best year she's ever had. We never seen these two in a singles match. And this was kind of one when they were getting ready to announce the 5-star brackets. I was hoping Starlight Kid and Micah would have been in the same bracket, but they weren't. And you get like you get a really good chunk of what a Starlight Kid versus Micah match would be. And Rob, to the shock of nobody, it would look awesome. Yeah, they were putting they were putting a rough spot following the 5, maybe even 5.25 star match of Micah and Momo. And they had a great match because all 4 of these wrestlers are over. This was a really fun, great, hard-hitting match. Maybe Starlight Kid's best outfit. I thought she looked great with the red and the black. And for what I understand on today's show, she brought that look back. So maybe that's something that she's going to put into her always alternating mask. But I liked how her mask was half Desperado, half hers. I thought that was really cool. Zack Sabre Jr. and El Desperado, really great chemistry in the ring. You made mention that they used to be in Minoru Suzuki's Suzuki-gun together. This was just a tremendous match that we did see a little bit more of the men wrestling the women. Again, I made mention when we started talking about the show a little bit ago that El Desperado selling for Micah, taking that 360 lariat, taking the big superplex. Zack Sabre Jr. taking and selling Starlight Kid's Asai moonsault. I thought was terrific. Not only that, but then Zack Sabre Jr. tries to give the Zack driver to Starlight Kid, and Starlight Kid is able to sneak out. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, ultimately, this was a really great match. You kind of have like 2 singles matches that then broken down to a mini bit of tag match, and then you have that big finish, that climactic finish at the end of this match, with just back and forth. Who's going to get the better of? There's this one spot. And I thought that Starlight Kid was going to get the win here because I'm like, I think they're going to Starlight Kid and Natsupoi as your semi-main event at Dream Queendom. What a great commercial. What a great driver that would be for Starlight Kid to get the win in the main event. And I really bid on that when Micah goes for the Michinoku driver. Starlight Kid gets out and gets the Momo latch. I'm like, okay, that's the finish, and it's the perfect finish. But Micah kicks out. Then we get kind of some great back and forth stuff between them. There's a really cool spot where they both lock in. Despy and Starlight Kid lock on the stretch mufflers onto Micah and Zack Sabre Jr. I thought that was cool, only for that to turn around for Zack and Micah to hit the Michinoku drivers. Obviously, Zack calls his the Zack driver, and then Micah hits the Michinoku driver, and that could have been the finish. But I like how they built this match up, or how the end goes, because they hit the double Michinoku drivers. I'm like, okay, that's the finish. But then Zack Sabre Jr. makes sure him and El Desperado get out of the way. So Micah has the ring to herself, hit the 360 Michinoku driver. Again, credit goes to the men, making sure the women looked as good as they did. That could have been the finish, and we would have been fine with it. I gave it 4.25 stars. I still would have gave it 4.25 stars. I'm like, oh, that's a cool finish. But then they get out of the way to let Micah get her big move in. What does that say for Micah? She gets the big win in the main event of this match that has the IWGP champion in. Again, it's little stamps here. And Starlight Kid looked like an absolute star, maybe the MVP of this match. All 4 wrestlers look great. I thought this was the second best match of the show. Either this or the Tam Sayori versus Tomoka and Shuri match. But where you started the show, where you ended the show, great. There's some good matches in between, and then obviously the semi-main event was Aces. A solid match to end. It was a really, really good show. And again, a lot of credit goes to these New Japan wrestlers getting out of the way and let Stardom shine as bright as they did on this show, because they really did everything from the Great O'Khan to Zack Sabre Jr. to El Desperado. And again, as much as the match is a little bit too long, Clark Connor selling that like he got kicked in the head from Mirko Krokop from our Murder Pixie. Throw in one of the best matches you'll see all year, or maybe just any year. This was, when I bought the pay-per-view and I was like, $35, that might be a little steep, but whatever. Okay. Stardom, I'm obviously going to support. I was like, I got my money's worth, my man. Even just in that semi-main event, I got my money's worth. Everything else was just extra. But I thought this was a solid show. I know some people online were complaining about it. I'm like, I don't know what you're complaining about. You must have saw a different show than me, because I absolutely love this. I thought this was terrific. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait for the wrestling discourse when Meltzer gives Mayu versus Momo his customary 4.5 stars.
Yeah, if he doesn't give that 5 stars, man, I don't know what. I know just real quick, I know we talked about it a lot. I did watch in the last 48 hours, I watched the Shuri match, the Mayu and Shuri match, which the Mayu and Shuri match, I gave it 5 stars. And again, it's almost as good as the Sari match. I know some people prefer the Shuri match to the Sari match, which is, I'm all for the Sari match. I just watched that yesterday. I think I like this Momo match a little bit better. Again, another story for another. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong. All 3 matches, I had 5 stars, but Meltzer doesn't give this 5 stars. Well, you know what I always say when people online bitch about the Meltzer rating on 5 stars, just ask me and Rob. We'll give you the real rating.
Absolutely. 2.5 stars. It was a fine match. Right.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, that does come to an end of all our reviews, and that means that it's time for one thing and one thing only. And Matt Turner, that of course means that it's time for Io and Kairi Watch.
This segment is going to be almost as long as the Mayu and Momo segment. No, I'm totally joking, because Io and Kairi Watch, it's just Io Watch, because Monday Night Raw this past Monday, and no, real quick, thanks to my man Darren Chatton for giving me the time cues of this, because yes, Darren, because my time was really, really short this week, and I really, really needed this without me even asking him, because Darren's the man. Opening segment sees Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez come out. They're cutting a promo. They start talking about the certain baby faces in WWE. Nia Jax comes out. Tiffany Stratton comes out. Candice LeRae comes out. Nia Jax basically says she doesn't like Liv Morgan, but she'll play nice with her. And then Bianca Belair comes out. Jade Cargill comes out. And Naomi comes out. And they said, we didn't come alone. And then Io comes out. So we have a 5-on-4 stare down. And then Liv Morgan basically says, you guys aren't good at math. I'm good at math, because we have 4, we have 5, you have 4. Who's going to make the first punch? Who's going to throw the first punch? Because us 5 are going to beat the 4 of you. All of a sudden, Rhea Ripley's music hits. Obviously, she's crazy over. She comes out with the Undertaker 94 mask. She grabs the microphone and yells War Games, and then shoot headbutts Liv Morgan. We have a big 5-on-5 brawl that ends up with the big last thing you see is Io hitting the moonsault off the post onto the outside, onto the heels. This setting up 4 War Games. Liv Morgan, Raquel, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Candice LeRae versus Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and our own Io Shirai, which marks, once again, Io Shirai has been in every female War Games and is usually the MVP, and will probably be the MVP of this one. So, my good friend, that's it. It's going to be cool to see Io in War Games. Little upset Kairi's not there, but I understand we're going with the Io and Liv Morgan story to, once again, Rob Goodwin. I actually just got in the mail just yesterday. We will find out who is the better wrestler in the women's 250. Is it Io or is it number 12 Liv Morgan or number 13 Io Sky? There it is right there.
One of the most bizarre placings I've ever seen. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring us to the end of our podcast. Just briefly, Stardom's Goddesses of Stardom Tag League does continue. It has happened on the 20th and the 21st. Obviously, we didn't have time to review them on this show. Probably a good job, as we've got nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes just on the two shows we did do. And we went an hour of that just talking about Mayu and Momo. They are going to be talked about next week. The turnaround has been really good, actually. The show on the 20th is already up, so I'm hoping that the shows on the 23rd in Sendai and on the 24th in Koriyama at Big Palette Fukushima on the 24th. I'm hoping that they have a relatively quick turnover. How quick that turnover is does really dictate how many of those 4 shows we get to cover next week on the Stardom Cast, when we'll return to our normal recording night. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. We really do appreciate all of your support. Don't forget, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on Linktree at Talk Joshi, where you can find wherever we are to subscribe on any podcast platform. If you haven't already, please consider maybe giving us a 5-star review and a comment. It really does help us out and helps us to spread the word of Stardom and indeed Marigold around the world. If you haven't checked out our Patreon, patreon.com/the StardomCast, for all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month, as well as a whole host of bonus content on top of that. We've also got the website www.talkjoshi.com. It has officially changed now, where you can check out all of the history, all of the stats, all of the historical bits to do with Stardom, as well as all of our archived episodes, as well as our show reviews and all of the news coming out as well. You can find us on social media at StardomCast and on Talk Joshi on Threads, Instagram, and on Blue Sky as well. So if you're on Blue Sky, make sure to check us out on there. You can talk to me on Twitter. It's at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, send us off, good sir.
Yes, next week it is Thanksgiving over here in the United States. It is the busiest travel day of the year for us in the United States, and I just want to wish everybody safe travels wherever you're going. Please be safe, and if you're stuck in traffic, just relax and put on some episodes of the Stardom Cast, the Marigold Standard, and maybe we'll help you get you through these busy holidays. But please be safe if you're traveling. Again, it is the busiest travel week of the year here in the United States, so be careful where you're going, and I hope you enjoy your holiday with your loved ones. With that being said, folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best and fastest way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, the email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fun-filled episode of the Stardom Cast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me and one Rob Goodwin enjoyed talking all things about Stardom. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together. Everyone's different. Everyone's special.